If I had to describe Dylan in a few words, I would probably describe him as someone that makes you feel free. I met Dylan when I was at a point in my life where I was trying to find more people who were really living life on their own terms, not just another person who was looking for a tech job. When I first talked to him, he was telling me about his love and passion for bringing people together. But I think what really made him unique was when he started showing me how to send out tens of thousands of emails without getting your inbox flagged, and all for a price that was less than a lunch. That's every company's wet dream for their salesperson to know. But anyways, over the years, I really got to see him develop towards this personality more, where he started building things that not only made money, but also changed people's lives. He's always someone who's able to find unique ways of doing something and still find an edge in any industry that he chooses to research. So that is why I thought he would be a great fit for this podcast, as I sit down with him for 3 hours, picking his brain, so you can learn from him, but also feel the same amount of fascination that I had when I first met him. Welcome back to the Magnus Effect, the podcast where I document the lives of autotelic people. This is Dylan Westland, and please enjoy the episode. I remember I met you because you got me into Sandbox. You had this description of like a creative class where everyone's doing like woodworking, painting, sewing, and I was like, yo, this looks cool. I didn't know you at the time,
Yeah.
but after I got into the class, you knew about me. How did you find out about me?
Well, I had watched one of your podcasts because I was fascinated by one of the guests that you had on your podcast, and I thought it was cool because it was like I had known you, and Mason was like, "Oh, you're gonna be joining the class," so I was
Yeah.
delighted to have.
And then it was really fun because over the semester, it's like you delivered on just that, right? Like it was a really fun class where it was like everyone was kind of building their own thing. I saw one guy made like a wedding ring box.
Yeah, somebody
Over the
got married in
course.
my class. We
That must be a good
facilitated
feeling,
the
right?
marriage. Yeah.
You gotta add that to the website, like the
Yeah.
the Sandbox website. It's like the ultimate flex.
The thing is, like, I wish I was in a place in life where I could do more for the class, because I think there's two things that you do. Is like you do things for business, and then sometimes you do things just for the culture.
Okay.
Like there isn't a clear ROI on teaching a class like Sandbox. Obviously there was, because I got to meet tons of people, but it wasn't like I was gonna directly make any money or like meet people through that class. It was just like kind of for the culture. And like right now, one of the biggest things is like I feel like in my life right now is like I need to like kind of take a break from doing things just for the culture and just doing things so I can go
Yeah.
ahead, right? Because like you if you don't have the bread, then you can't really make a big impact. Like Sandbox was like a big impact, I feel like, because I was in school, but it's hard to do that when you're not in school because you don't have these resources. You don't have $1 million classrooms that a university will just let you use.
Yeah.
You don't have all these talented people that are just around you that just want to associate with you for no reason, right? When a lot of the illusion goes away when you're graduate from college, and like the second you don't have money, then you're just unemployed. And it's like it's much harder to do cool things. So it's like pragmatically, I think I need to take a step back from doing all these like fun stuff, and I just want to focus on making bread so then I can go do more of the fun stuff, because that's really what drives me, is like being able to like facilitate that.
Wait, yeah, that's so scary though, because like I think about that too with like, oh, what am I gonna do like after I like graduate? I feel like this like safety net where all these resources, like literally resources I don't even use. Like I thought about this the other day or this morning actually. I was walking to the inside one of the Berkeley libraries. People talk about how they're able to like find so much great information, and like people write crazy essays that are hugely well researched because they have access to the library.
Yeah.
With the 3 4 years I've been here, I haven't used the library at all. But like the thought of losing it is very sad to me. So that's why like I don't. It's uncomfortable to me because like I feel like I've been living college as if I was out of it, but the fact that I'm actually officially gonna be out of it is the scariest part to me.
I think, okay, every unk ever, and like my parents are all like, "Oh, college is gonna be the best time of your life. You have to take the full advantage of it." I honestly think it's a little overrated, but at the same hand, like, when else are you gonna be like in a situation with like a tons of young, attractive people your age, and you can just go and do whatever the fuck you want, and like nobody really gives a fuck. Especially here at Berkeley, like, nobody really gives a fuck. Like people can literally do whatever the fuck they want because it's like Berkeley. Like the first week I was here in Berkeley, bro, freshman year, sitting down, eating a sloppy ass burger, like Golden Bear Cafe. I see somebody go underneath the fucking gates, pour gas on themselves, and commit suicide like by fire. Did you remember that?
Of that.
Yeah, like,
The guy who lit himself on fire.
and then that's when I realized, like, okay, well, like, okay, this is the school that I'm at, and then I realized, like, nobody really gives a fuck. There was kind of like this little illusion that there was still like a social hierarchy because of the whole like Greek life thing. And I was in Clark Kerr, which for anybody that doesn't know, like Clark Kerr is the dorm that's way nicer. All the other dorms are like pig pens, but like Clark Kerr is super nice, but everybody in Clark Kerr is like super invested into going to a frat or a sorority, and I just like I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Like I tried, and I was just like, this is not me. Like I'm not ripping beers with the boys.
It's interesting that you brought up the point about what's it called? The fact that like while you're in college, like nothing really matters, right?
Nothing really matters.
That was like a really liberating feeling. But I feel like I learned it too late. Like when I think about, I think a lot of people figured out that nothing matters, but then they channel it to the wrong thing, you know, like drinking or like abusing their bodies or like just wasting a lot of, or to me, I guess my perception of what wasting time is. It's like going to bars, going like drinking, you're just playing a bunch of like, I don't know, board game nights,
Well,
which
I
I'm not.
honestly disagree. And I don't think the mindset behind people going out, going to parties and all this shit is because people are like, oh, who cares? It doesn't really matter. Let's just have fun. I honestly think it's the opposite. I think
Ooh,
what it is
okay.
like it's so socially acceptable here to like go to a party. Like nobody's gonna shit on you for going to a party. No one's gonna shit on you for like going to fucking Taco Tuesday. Everybody's going to Taco Tuesday. People outside our house are going to fucking Taco Tuesday. That's what everybody's doing, right? And I think people realize they don't actually like it. Cause have you ever been to a Taco Tuesday?
No, because I'm not
It's
of
it's
age, but
it's
it's not
not
great.
fun. It's
No.
not fun. The parties at Berkeley are like low key not that fun. And the nightlife in San Francisco is not that fun either. I don't know if you disagree.
I've been to those, yes. And like every time you walk in, it's just your boys just kind of awkwardly standing there,
No, every
egging each
time
other
you
on
walk
to
in, it's
walk.
fucking a 90 to 10 ratio, guys to girls. Everybody's sweaty. Everybody's a swee. Nobody's actually having fun.
No.
But everybody is like, fuck, I need to go out. Like, everybody's like, fuck, I need to go out every single weekend because that's just what you do.
It's a quota that like
Yeah.
you think that is socially like you need to fill.
So it's like literally the opposite where it's like, I think genuinely people don't actually enjoy going out that much. And I'm not trying to be like Unc Dylan, like, don't go out, like, go have fun. But it's like, when I lived in Europe versus what it's here, it's like, going out in Europe was fun. Like going out here is not that fun. And I think everybody's kind of pretending because I like did empirical research on this and I would like go
You
to people.
did research on like the psychology of going
No,
out,
like I would
or
ask people that go out every single like I would make sure like nobody was like listen. I was like, okay, we're in a confined area, and I say, listen, like, do you actually enjoy going out in San Francisco? No, not really. Do you actually enjoy going out in Berkeley? No, not really. But it's just like it's easier to go out than to tell everybody, no, I'm not going out. I'm fucking working on this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think the whole illusion of weekends, like what is a weekday, what is a weekend, I think that is also like really detrimental to society. Where it's like people and you feel it because it's been encoded in us where it's like it's Friday night and you feel an energy that is like, I need to go out. I need to go do something. I need to be social. And I'm all for being social. Like I'm like the most like I'm trying to be the most social person ever, but it's interesting. It's like when you're trying to get something done and you're like logically you're like, I'm not gonna go out this weekend. I need to get this done. And logically you also accept like I'm gonna get this done so I can go out more later in life. And that's like where I'm at right now. Like I need to lock in like so I can go out more later in life. Because that's like kind of my whole goal. But Friday nights hit and that FOMO feeling, it's almost like your circadian rhythm. It's like it's time for you to go out. Like you can feel something in the energy in the air when it's Friday, Saturday. And I think that feeling alone like prevents a lot of people from getting the things done that they want.
Yeah, no, and I could like totally relate to that because I think there's a really great reel of this guy saying like, "Oh, I sacrificed my 20s or I sacrificed my college years because I want to be this good guy. I want this image of like someone who didn't drink and like how did the reel go? It was essentially those two
I know
principles.
exactly what
You
you're
know what I'm
talking
talking about,
It
right?
reminds me of the guy who's like, that ain't my type of fun. You know what I'm talking
Exactly.
about? Yeah.
Yes.
No, I think that's super gooner. I think if you're like one of those super goons that like, no, like take life, like, first of all, life is not that fucking
No,
serious.
the real I'm talking about is like a reflection that he was like, oh, that was the wrong idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's
I thought.
glad. Yeah, no, I've seen that one, but the idea of that kid, because I've met so many of those fucking carbon copies where they're like super locked in, and I'm like, okay, what are you doing? They're like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm trying to be a consultant. It's like, what the fuck is the point of locking in, bro?
But like that's essentially what
You
you're
know?
saying too, right? No, like you're saying like I'm going to stop having fun right now so I can have infinite amounts of fun in the future.
Yeah, okay. You call me.
Yeah.
But no,
No,
okay.
but I'm saying I
But
feel the exact same way, but like does it have to be like that? No, cuz like sometimes it's like yes, I'm locked in and like I want sometimes I cope. I'm just like I'm locked in, I don't want to be invited out. It's like the don't hit me up, bro type of like meme, you know? It's
it
like
reminds me of like
you don't get
guys.
invited out. That's
Okay.
the issue.
This idea reminds me of like guys, and you meet so many of these at Berkeley. Like, nah, bro, I'm too locked in. I'm not gonna go. I'm like, yo, go. This guy's like, yo, this girl's cute.
Okay.
Right? And if you see a girl that's cute on the street, just fucking talk to her. Like, you're not gonna die, right? Like, and that's kind of just like a challenge that you should always keep up with yourself because it keeps you like willing to take micro risks. And if you're more willing to take micro risks, you're probably gonna live a better life, right? But it's these guys like, oh, this girl's cute, right? Okay, go talk to her. No, bro, I'm locked in. Like so many times, many times, like the cope is like, nah, bro, like I'm not even looking for anything right now. Like I'm sure people that are watching this have heard this so many times. Like you obviously want this, but you're using I'm locked in as a cope to not go do it. Like
You know what I learned about this actually? I didn't know this was like a psychological thing that was I forgot where I discovered this. I'm pretty sure I was talking about like how like competition, how I always like struggled with competition as a kid. Because like whenever I played tennis, right, I would during practice sessions I'd be like smacking the ball. I'd be like playing really well, but then when it came to like actual competition matches days, I'd hit the ball like a little bitch. Like it just I plays for safety. And so what I was kind of explaining to my friend was like as I kind of grew up, I got scared of going into competitions because it means that like I have nowhere to hide. Like I have to show that I put in the effort or I didn't put the effort.
Yeah.
And it's like a very binary you won or you lost. And so they're like, "Oh yeah, that's the same idea when it comes to like people asking or guys asking women out because like they have this idea or image of themselves in their head, but as soon as they get rejected, that image gets shattered. And like that is why most people are scared to approach and get rejected because they don't want to hurt that, for lack of a better way of saying it, like the ego, you know?
First thing is, I totally relate to you. Like, whenever I played things as a kid, I was always scared of competition too. And when it comes to girls, and it's actually, this is a really interesting example because the courage to go cold approach a girl, the actual situation is not that deep, but the mindset behind it is really deep.
Yeah.
Because there are people who can make millions of dollars. They're incredible negotiators, whatever, and they just can't approach a girl. And like it's something where it's like you can't really like having that courage is almost like you can't like VC. You can't like you can't like you can't like you can read a book and like learn how to do business. You can raise money and run a startup and do business and be successful, right? Or like you can go to the gym, work out, take creatine, and you can get big, right? But like with girls and talking to girls, it's almost something like it's a binary and it doesn't actually take that much work, but it's like something a lot of people aren't willing to do. Like, and it's interesting. It's like overcoming that fear, I feel like is one of the hardest things for guys nowadays. And I think an environment like Berkeley actually is like a really bad negative reinforcement because I think a lot of people, they die first in their brain before they actually go do it. Because anybody that's a cold approach a girl and the girl wasn't interested, like you always realize it's not that deep. Yeah. Hey, you're cute. Sorry, I have a boyfriend. Sorry, I'm not interested. You actually come out of that interaction and you're like, you know what? I'm proud of myself because I went and I fucking talked to her, right? And like, I'm the fucking man. Like, everybody looked at me and they're all way too pussy to do that, and I just did that, even though I failed. It's kind of like you went up to bat, but you had the bravery to bat. And I think, and I would say, like, honestly, this is probably one of the biggest problems in society, is that guys are like fundamentally getting like scared of girls. And it's not even like a feminism thing. It's like, I don't even think the girls are really fucking with this either.
Do you think that manifests itself though into like the other things that they do? So like in order to compensate for that, we are getting higher outputs or higher uh their talent is going somewhere else. So what I'm trying to say is like if Baljeet, fuck, that's bad.
No, you say.
Okay, if Baljeet is like really into this is so bad. I'm gonna use the CS example. If Baljeet is a CS guy or CS kid at Berkeley, right? And he's terrified of women. But like he knows that okay, maybe if I get really good at if I get really good at like developing programs, maybe I'll make enough money and then like I won't have to worry about like attracting anyone, right? So now we get 100% effort Baljeet working towards like solving the world's best problems. And then maybe he finally becomes happy at the end, you know? So maybe it's a net positive. That's what I'm trying to say.
I honestly couldn't. Well,
now
let me think.
The
Let me think
of society working together. That's a different.
Let me think about this carefully. What is the point of a man trying to get money if it isn't for girls? To be honest, like even like 90, and I think like honestly a lot of people are lying when they say this, because I think it's just like almost like the Matrix just told them that they have to say this because this is the objective best answer. It's like you ask somebody, why do you want to get rich? Oh, family. But family is actually getting some pussy and then creating a kid. So one step behind family is like getting a
So
girl.
you're saying Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we are by definition programmed to want to make a child. So like, therefore everything we do as a human is to attract a mate. Low key.
Low key. And I think some people get so crazy and like of course Berkeley has like the craziest examples, but like I think a very, very small fraction of the population are so set on some goal that it's actually not about pussy.
Yeah.
It's actually not about money. It's actually not about pussy. It's actually about achieving this thing. But we overinflate how much that is because we see these people in headlines. But in reality, there's very few of these people. Like, I haven't really met that many people where I'm like, okay, you're doing this crazy company. Okay, subtract the idea that you're going to make any money from this. Or would you still do this, right? Most people are not going to do that. And then it's like, okay, why do you want to make money? Once you Socratic method it, you go back, oh, I want a nice car. Why do you want a nice car? Attention. Why do you want attention? And you keep going back and back and back. You realize most people want money. Most guys, at least, want money because they want girls. Like, it's like, and then there's a bunch of things that go, and like, that sounds like an oversimplification, which it is, but it's actually true. Like, and it actually makes sense because it's like, you follow everything in nature. And like, literally every pattern of nature of every animal is like procreation. And it's like, we're just a very complicated species that has made our system so complicated to get procreation.
Do you know that experiment where they introduce currency to crows versus when they introduce the concept of currency to monkeys?
Yeah.
You've seen those, right?
No.
Oh, you haven't? Okay, so what's funny is like animals don't really use currency, but we want to do an experiment. What would happen if we introduce currency to crows? And crows realize that they can like help each other like trade food, but when they introduce currency to monkeys, they discover that you can not only pay for food and like ask for people for favors, but you can also buy prostitution. Yeah. And so it was a big leap because it didn't exist in the crows, but it existed with the monkeys. And I guess it kind of goes to what you were saying about maybe it's because we are more complex that we kind of like fall into the most simplest prediction.
What's interesting is you look back at the history of human beings, like the modern human, and the historians, what I forgot the name of the specific type of historian that studies human nature and like human biology and what humans were like, human psychology.
Anthropology?
Maybe, yeah, anthropology, maybe. Um, and it's like human happiness and fulfillment peaked when we were hunter gatherers.
Yeah.
So that was like, you can look at it and it was like hunter gatherers, we were like an 8 out of 10. Like life was pretty fucking good. But you know, like babies were still dying, like diseases, like if you got cut, like it's pretty fucked because like it would get infected, you'd probably die, you know. But you know, beyond that, you were eating really good food. You were and people don't actually know this, but like hunter gatherers were like partying all the time. They were like fucking nonstop. They had friends. They went on adventures. They sang. They danced. They did all this shit, and it was like it was super chill. And you think about it, like, what's the most fun that we have as humans is getting drunk, and then like getting over like the social shyness of like being crazy and like dancing and talking to girls and fucking and like just like not giving a fuck. And it's like, oh, we're using alcohol, which is literally poison. I like alcohol, but I fucking hate alcohol because I hate being hungover. But we're using alcohol to literally stimulate how our life used to be like thousands of years ago.
Yes.
Anyways, we go from Homo sapiens, and then we start getting like we start like doing agriculture, and like life gets really shitty. And agriculture, and then we have like kingdoms, and then we have like modern history, and life is pretty fucking ass. Like after hunter gatherers until like
Because of the class system, right? You're kind of
like
like
yeah,
given, like,
everybody's in poverty, everybody's dying.
yeah.
Like we're eating shittier food because we're doing agriculture instead of eating like a fucking cow or like an ape. We're eating fucking grains, and you know there's kings and they have all the girls, and then if you like are a peasant, you're a peasant. Your life sucks. And that's like 99% of the population, right? And basically that same pattern kept going, kept going, kept going. And then like it's slightly gotten better. Like, you know, 1900s we have modern technology, and like a lot of countries are modern, but still like still in a lot of countries like it fucking sucks. Like life is pretty fucking bad. And now like we kind of peaked in the 2000s. You know, they always talk about how we're nostalgic of the 2000s. Actually, it's like we kind of like we were here hunter gatherers, and like then we go down here like dark ages, all this shit, and then we kind of get here like 2005, but now we're kind of going back down. Like BlackRock starts to own all the
What is
family
going down, by
homes.
the way? Are we talking about like happiness?
Like
or...
like human happiness and
Okay,
fulfillment.
okay.
Yeah.
Like average happiness. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Interesting.
actually interesting.
So that is why I've actually been really obsessed with, like, we were talking before this, like what podcast you listen to, David Senra.
Yeah.
Because like over the break, what I find really interesting, and we'll dig more into this conversation, is like the fact that you even say that you wanted to chase bread or you wanted to make money.
Yeah.
Because similar to what you're saying, like how we're just kind of supplementing our happiness with a lot of like substances, I think most of that comes because we're doing so many things in our life that are not stimulating to us. It's not like the meaningful to us. And
Yeah.
what is the meaning of life is this big question that we're obsessed with as human beings, right? And as soon as you hear like this crazy answer, you're like, oh, that's cool. Okay, but what is it for me?
Yeah.
And so there's this line from David Senra that I really liked. He brought it up. I don't actually know who the original person who said it was. I think it was Patrick O'Shaughnessy, but he says, most of us aren't looking for the meaning of life, but the feeling of being alive. And most of us know what it is that makes us feel alive. But what's weird is that most of us don't pursue it or don't chase it because we get so distracted by everyone else doing their own thing, and we kind of want to get in on that, or we're fearful of the failure that might come if we like stuck to that entire thing.
Yeah.
You know? So I thought that was such an interesting take, because it was just like, why is it that I feel like we've bundled up everything about like feeling alive and the meaning of life to money, because it's easy to track.
Yeah.
Right? It's easy to see your bank account go up. It's easy to compare yourself to other people instead of realizing like you have to have your inner scorecard. From like Warren Buffett coined this term, but like you have to know that you yourself are winning. You are doing something that is happy, and similar to what you're saying about mindset, is like so important in knowing like to ground yourself.
Well, there's something interesting that I was just talking to one of my friends about, where I feel like I'm a very emotional person. I'm not a very logical person, and my emotions kind of swing every single day and every single hour. Um, Typically I'm in a great headspace, but sometimes I get a little sad, right?
Yeah.
And I think something I have a really big problem with, and I think it's something like I think is a huge another one of the biggest problems at Berkeley is that it's very hard for us to give ourselves credit for what we have done. So if and I try to do this like exercise where I look at my life objectively. And I'm like, okay, I've done all this, like let me objectively write this down and give myself credit, right? So every kid at Berkeley, has worked, with the exception of some, obviously, because they got in somehow. But like most of the kids at Berkeley probably worked really hard and they got into UC Berkeley, which is a huge achievement, right? What's the acceptance rate for the school? Like 10%, something pretty low. So this is this huge achievement, and in high school, this was the only thing on everybody's mind. Nobody was thinking about no bread. Nobody was thinking about no job. Everybody was only thinking about how do I get into college. Once I get into college, all my life problems will be solved. And for like a month, 2 month, 3 month, 4 month period, that's what it felt like. Like remember in high school when everybody got in college.
Is that what you had as an expectation at the
Yeah, I
beginning
mean,
too?
when I was in high school, that was like me and all my friends. That was the only thing that was like important. We're like, oh, like once we get into a good college, like life just figures itself out. That's the only like because you get into a fucked college, your life is just fucked. But you get into a good college, and you have all the opportunity in the world, right? You get into college. That 4 month period was like ecstasy, bro. High school, everybody got into college. Nobody gave a fuck anymore. I lived in LA. It was amazing, right? Then you go into college, and it's like, okay, now I have all these other problems I need to deal with, right? And you totally forget, like, this was at one point the biggest achievement that I wanted to get, right? So I'm in college, and it's like, I don't even know what I want to study, right? And I finally figure out what to study, and then once I figured that out, it's like, okay, month of happiness, then next problem, I need to make fucking money. And now, like, I realize, and it's not like I'm making that much money. Like, I have a business that does $50,000 a month, right? Which, if you told me I was doing that freshman year, I'd be like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, let's fucking go. And now it's like, in my brain, I'm like, I want to make more money. Like, I don't feel like I'm rich yet. Like, I don't feel like I've gotten what I want yet. But, like,
What do you think that is? I'm gonna stop you there because like $50,000 a month is way more than most people try to achieve, right? Like
yeah,
everyone is very happy with just $10,000 a month, right? It's like
Yeah.
holy shit, we finally broke the six figures.
yeah.
You're making 5 times that. So what? Why do you feel
I
like you need to
haven't
make
paid
more?
myself any money since I started the business. I've only used it scarcely for rent when I need to rent. Like all the money I have is just doing random stuff for people. They'll pay me, right? Sometimes I'll source somebody a VA. They'll pay me $1,000, $2,000. I'll do a random side project, and I don't spend that much money either. But I think a part of it is I haven't taken any money out of the business, so I don't feel that money yet. So when I look at like, when the money comes in, I'm just not really like looking at it. So maybe that's part of the reason why. And it's like I have an idea of what my life is as me being like finally having enough money, which is like I have a nice house that I'm renting, and I live with 2 or 3 people, and like this is my dream life.
You're
I
you're
haven't,
describing your dream life right now.
yeah, and I
Okay.
think I feel like I actually technically have the amount of money to do this yet, but I just haven't. It's actually a great question, but and I probably will do this summer, so we'll have to do an update. See how I feel over the summer.
Well, that's why we're doing this, right?
Yeah.
It's a snapshot in your life.
Yeah.
And that's what I really want to capture right now.
So, I mean, obviously, intrinsically, you always want more because you know you can do more. You know, like as the business became more successful, I figured out all these other ways that I can make more money, like affiliate marketing. I don't even sell subscriptions.
Yeah.
I do all one off. I'm like, oh, actually, I do fucking subscriptions. Every SaaS play, right? I don't do enterprise contracts. I only do residential real estate. I don't do commercial real estate. All these things, it's like constantly overwhelming. Or like before, I just wiped it all off in my mirror, but I had all these like ideas of like what I could do to make more money. But like right now, where it stands, my dream life is, we've been to a lot. I've hosted parties and that you've come to, and it's like,
you host the best dinners, by the way.
yeah. So my dream life is like genuinely is I'm hosting. First, I love being busy, because like if I'm not busy, then it's just kind of like you're wasting your fucking life. You know, like especially the opportunity cost of being here at Berkeley, and like I don't go to classes, I don't really go to campus that much because I'm usually working. Like the opportunity cost of being here on Berkeley and not being involved like in clubs or classes or like hanging out with students, like I think it's so high that if I don't take full advantage of it, it's like a fucking waste, you know? Like so many kids like,
Wait, hold on. You said if you don't involve in all your stuff, it's a high.
well, it's the high opportunity cost, because right now we go to this school that has all these really cool clubs.
But do you need to be okay? So let me get your take on this then, right? Because I don't know how involved you are, like with school and everything. It seems like you are.
No, I'm not.
You're not.
I'm really not.
Oh,
The only thing I do is sandbox. I don't even go to classes. Yeah.
Oh, so you're saying that's the opportunity high,
Yeah.
the cost is high, and yet you don't care. Is that what you're saying?
Well, the opportunity cost is high, but I'm justifying it because I think slightly I'm getting more out of doing the business than I am doing the whole class thing. What I think is cool, actually, I don't think this is cool. This is actually really unfortunate, but I think we're living in a world right now, 2026, where we have a 3-year window of opportunity. And not only is this the easiest time ever to make money, but it might be the last, to be honest. Because there's all these shit ass, legacy ass, grandfathered ass industries that are about to get disrupted by AI. And you look at it, and this is where I think a lot of people get scared because they're like, oh my God, there's all these AI companies. How am I going to compete? Sorry, I already missed the train. It was like drop shipping in 2016. No, it's not, bro. Like, AI is incredible, but it hasn't really been used for that much shit yet. Like, for example, have you ever tried to... What bank do you use?
I use Chase.
Have you ever called Chase?
Yes.
How terrible was that experience?
Yeah, incredibly.
It's like, why the fuck is there not an AI voice on there and I say, okay, my debit card got stolen, issue me a new one right now?
I can think of a few.
And it's like, okay, do that immediately. Like, yeah, obviously there's a little caveats on why X, Y, and Z, like why that wouldn't work. But like the technology is there. It just hasn't been implemented yet, right? And like with everything, like there's so many things that you do that it's like there's so much inefficiency. Now the point that I'm making is like all this inefficiency in the world can be solved by this new technology. And it will be solved by this new technology in the next 4 years. Like you look on LinkedIn, there's a fucking startup for everything.
14-year-olds do.
Exactly. And this is what I'm saying is like once the world becomes so efficient, there's going to be a lot less problems to solve. And there's going to be all these mega companies that just eat up all these little agents that do all this stuff, or just make a feature that every business can use. And then it's like, there's going to be no more, like, where's the opportunity? And so the opportunity for entrepreneurship is going to be like much harder. And this is the fucked part that nobody's talking about. And I think this is like a huge issue, and people are just like, they low-key know it's about to happen, but they're just ignoring it. But it's like, so many people are locking in Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, consulting, whatever. Bro, these companies don't take 300K annual losses for fun. Like the second an AI can do your job, which is fucking make a chart, they're firing you, bro. Like they're firing 20 for 1. They're gonna give one ultimate like Indian that's super good at math all the AI tools, and they're gonna fire all 20 of them, and it's gonna be done. And it's like Amazon laid off like, what was that, a few months ago? Amazon laid off like 50K people. Was it 50K, 30K, 13K?
I didn't see anything about actually Amazon.
They laid off
layoffs.
so many people, and it's like everybody just ignored that. And it's like, okay, what comes next? So I'm gonna tell you something fucking crazy. About a month and a half ago, Mason and I got this contract for doing the human data, like I was telling you, right? So basically what we were doing is, yeah. So basically in December, my business was really slow, and a lot of my team was like on break, so I was just kind of like chilling. Like I wasn't making that much money, and I was just kind of like whatever. Like I paid everybody out their bonuses, and I was just kind of chilling. You know, it's Christmas break. And I was scheming with my housemates. I'm like, how can we make some bread over Christmas? I always think about like, there's all these unique opportunities that pop up during Christmas. I was thinking about doing like maybe a Christmas lights play where I'd go to a Christmas lights company and then cold email an entire neighborhood and say we do Christmas lights and maybe try to get some deals through that. So I'm always thinking like, what can you do during Christmas? It's a fun time, right? And me and Mason basically came up. Well, I came up with it. Mason just like joined me with the plan, to be honest. For my business, I use a lot of VAs, virtual assistants, Filipino workers, right? And you can pay a like a virtual assistant, you can pay like $3 an hour, and that's an incredible salary for them.
Yes.
A lot of the people that I've hired say they make more in a week than they would make in 3 months working at their old jobs, right? Which goes to show like that's kind of like there's so much in the third world that we don't even know about. But anyways,
Labor arbitrage.
yeah, there is a lot of labor arbitrage. So what Mason and I were doing was, remember Handshake AI, like those jobs for
Yes.
$50 an hour? We just signed up for all of them. And if you go to Berkeley, you can get like so many of them because they see you as like a Berkeley student, whatever. Like you're probably smart. And we want to put you on this job, right?
Okay.
$50 an hour, $30 an hour, $60 an hour, all these crazy jobs. I go on there, make a Zoom call with just myself, click record, explain how to do it with my screen share, save it as a file, send it to a Filipino. I say, do this for $2 an hour. I make $50 an hour, arbitrage, and then make a bonus structure for how good that they perform, right? So I was just doing this arbitrage, and it was like making just a few $1,000s a week, which was fire. And then Mason got in, and we were doing this whole fucking thing.
So it's automated recruiting? Am I getting at that right?
No.
Where it's like it's mirroring yourself to
like basically I got a job,
Oh.
an online job for McCore, Handshake, whatever. And it's me writing prompts or something, like something that's not that hard, right? But it's like paying a ridiculous amount of money because there's so much money in this industry right now.
Interesting.
And then instead of me doing it, because I want to go spend my time working on my business, whatever, fucking off, I get a Filipino to do it for $2 an hour. So the job pays $50 an hour. Filipino gets paid $2 an hour. I arbitrage at 48.
This is a popular thing they do in r/overemployed. I don't know if you've ever heard of that
Yes,
subreddit.
yes. So basically, same play. But this was much easier because like it wasn't an actual real job. It was just like data labeling. So me and Mason at one point start doing this at scale. And this one company, like it was just easy money, right? And we had a team of 10 people doing this. And we're just fucking printing. And we're trying to be careful, like VPNs and everything, like making sure like people don't get caught. But one of the Filipinos, and the way this one worked, it was like sharing your screen.
Okay.
Like we didn't train her well enough. Middle of doing the task, she was like, "Let me open Facebook and start texting my friends in Tagalog." So then we got caught, and the CEO of this company is like, "What the fuck?" We hop on a call with him, and we have to like explain ourselves, right? But we like drift the conversation. We're like, "Listen, look at the leaderboard. Look at the leaderboard. All of our people are way outperforming the college students who are half hitting a vape, half on reels, half doing it, letting the timer run as long as possible so they can get all the bread. These Filipinos, they get on there. This is serious. Yeah. This is like a doctor's salary. They love America. They're taking this seriously. Like they're locked in. You know what I'm saying? They're educated. They speak English, So we look at the leaderboard. We're doing way better than them. And they're like, you know what? Fuck it. Like your team's really good. Let's just make this official.
Wow.
Get an 11K,
like that.
Yeah, and we get an 11K per week contract with them to do this just officially. So we have like a whole team going at this. I'm like, bro, this is crazy. Let me look into this human data space. Right now, this is a really long backstory, but
I think it provides a really great context. No,
yeah,
I'm entertained.
So I'm like, let me look into this human data space, and I'm like looking into this, and I'm like, okay. Basically, right now we're competing against Mercor, Scale AI, Handshake. Realistically, like we got really lucky with this contract. I don't think this is gonna happen again.
Because you're labeling things like crazy, like fast.
Yeah, we just got lucky with this contract because there's tons of what you call the BPO industry, which is like industries where they get a team of Filipinos to just do something, right? So you can put this on anything, right? And it's a race to the bottom. So we got really lucky because most BPOs that are hired by like a Mercor or a Handshake, they pay them like the equivalent of like $7 an hour, and we're getting like 50 for this, right? So, and it was a company that didn't really know what they were doing. They raised a bunch of money. They're just like spending all their money, right? So, I'm like, realistically, we're probably not going to get a contract like this again. But I'm really interested in this human data space. and I'm researching more and more and more, and I literally almost like dropped everything and go all in on this company. I'll tell you why I didn't, but I came across like this huge realization where Scale AI, for example, they were running before ChatGPT. So like, Scale AI, you were kind of like, what the fuck is this company doing? Like, what is a large language model? Then that ChatGPT moment happened, and everyone's like, oh my god, language models, and all this money goes in. Scale AI fucking explodes. Alexander Wang, like youngest self-made billionaire, whatever, right? And all these companies, Mercor, whatever, they all just fucking explode. So much money, right? And I'm like, okay, I think large language models are kind of ran through. And that's kind of the impression I got. I got on so many sales calls with people trying to sell the service to people. I kind of like, yeah, we kind of have all of human knowledge. Like now we only need like super niche, like PhD in like tree fucking biology in like West Africa. Like that's like the type of people that we're looking for, right? We don't really need like Filipinos, right? So I'm like, okay, what is like really valuable human data? I'm like researching. What I think is like going to be the next big thing is like robotics for everything. Robots that clean, robots that pour your gas, robots in the factories, robot doctors, right? And there's very few companies doing compiling data for robotics, right? There's actually two at Berkeley. One's called Human Archive, one's called Lowell. They're both in our grade at Berkeley. They both got into YC. And then there's Build.ai. I'm sure you know the kid that
I only know Human Archive, actually. I don't know Build.ai.
yeah, I'm sure you'll have the kid that founded Build.ai on your podcast soon. But he's like the leader. He raised 18 million. I'm like, there's these three companies, but there's not that many people doing it. And I'm like looking more, and I'm like, like this footage, it's like what they do is they strap a camera on a fucking dude like in a third world country, and they have them do something. Like they have them cook or clean or do fucking anything, right? And it's like all these companies are doing like getting footage of like the most mundane tasks, like factory worker, like cleaner, butcher, whatever, right? And this data is valuable, but there's that's what everybody's doing. And I'm like looking into it, researching, and I'm like, what's really valuable is medical data. But that's really hard to get because there's so many regulations around medical data and like what you can do with medical data, right? And I'm thinking like, how do I do this thing where it's like, how can I get medical data and sell it? And like, how could it be cool? And I came up with like, and I'm sure someone's gonna like watch this podcast and think this is a genius idea, and I hope someone does do this because it's such a cool story. What I wanted to do was basically raise a bunch of VC money, buy a hospital or rent a hospital, like a surgery center in the Philippines, and give out free surgeries, but in exchange, we get to farm the data. And the healthcare system, I'm asking all my employees, I'm like, what is the healthcare system like in the Philippines? They're like, it's ass. Yeah. Like, basically, if you want to get a surgery, like, most people just can't afford surgeries, right? So, like, if someone has a fucked up knee or a fucked up eye, you just kind of deal with it, right? So, I'm like, this would be fucking amazing. Free surgeries. Who gives a fuck if they're farming? Like, they have, like, I can't walk. Like, I don't give a fuck if you're farming the data, right? So, the surgery is $2,000, but that data, if you do, like, a 2-hour long surgery, like a cataract surgery, right? That data is worth $20,000. Yeah, I mean, again, there's not really like a set marketplace because it's still really early in the industry. Yeah. That data is worth like $20,000, and I was like, what a fucking headline would this be? Berkeley student raises $10 million, buys hospital in Philippines, gives free surgery for the advancement of science. And I was like, wow, this would be fucking so awesome. But the more I looked into it, it's a really risky bet on like, is this the type of footage that is filming something in like a environment really what is the most effective for training robots? We don't know yet. So okay. It's still a big question mark on like if that's actually valuable. And like so all these companies that are doing the footage stuff are taking a huge bet, but it seems promising. Now this is some crazy shit that I found out. So I was like hyper fixated on this idea when I'm in December, so I was kind of like in a discovery phase. And I was calling all these people, and this guy I met. Now this is like really classified, but I don't give a fuck, right? I'm just not gonna name his name. So this guy I met was like, okay, so I have a heart surgeon that he's super rich, right? So he has like one of the most bougie Beverly Hills heart surgeons, like that does surgeries on tons of famous people, right? He's like, listen, this guy that I know invested $10 million of his own money in Tesla. And he was talking to his heart surgeon. He was like, oh, I invested all this money in Tesla. And his heart surgeon's like, that's actually a really smart idea, but I can't tell you why. Being cheeky. And the and he's like, obviously, like, presses the fuck out of the heart surgeon. Like, what do you mean? Like, you need to tell me now. Hour in, he finally is like, okay, I'll tell you why. Heart surgeon says, this team at Tesla pays me on yearly retainer just to keep me around, just for my advice. So they're always asking me questions about heart surgeries, methods, and stuff, and I'm always just giving them advice, right? They always want to watch me give heart surgeries. And I never really understood why. They didn't tell me, obviously, but they just paid me to come in and answer questions. And then, obviously, if anybody in the C-suite at Tesla had like a heart problem, he would come in and look at it, right? So he was just on this annual retainer. And he was making a lot of money, right? And then this one night, he says, like somebody super high up at Tesla calls them. He's like, hey, I need you to come to Cedars-Sinai Hospital. That's actually the hospital I was born in. A lot of things happen in Cedars-Sinai. It's like the big hospital in LA. Comes to Cedars-Sinai, and he's like, I want you to watch this surgery. So him and his wife, they're both heart surgeons, come in, and they watch a Tesla Optimus, like a special one, Optimus robot, perfectly perform an open heart
So
surgery.
Tesla's asking the heart surgeon to come in and watch the surgery.
Yeah, and they watch a Tesla robot perfectly perform an open heart surgery. And nobody knows about this. And they haven't released it. And then cheekily, Elon Musk hopped on a podcast. I'm sure you saw this. And so they were asking, like, oh, like, you think medical degrees are still relevant? And he's like, no. Like, in 3 years, they're going to be completely irrelevant. And I was like, holy fuck. Like, when he said that, he's saying that with conviction, you know? Because a lot of Elon Musk's call-outs actually tend to be right. Many of them were wrong, but most of them were right. And it's like crazy insight, like this crazy insider knowledge where it's like, now we have a fucking robot that can successfully give an open heart surgery, which is insane.
Yeah.
And I think when something like that, maybe that's a really extreme example, but something is gonna drop soon where there's gonna be a robot that does something that we see in everyday life successfully. An example I'd like to give is like maybe like Mobile has a robot that pours your gas.
Okay.
And that second that we see the robot in everyday life, that's going to be that ChatGPT moment where everybody's going to be like, holy shit, robotics are actually the future.
Okay.
And all this money is going to be invested in robotics, and like the entire world is going to change again, you know? So I think it's an amazing industry to get into. Again, I'm not in it, but...
So now that I have some context of that, you're saying like I guess you're now going away from data and like you're trying to find something in robotics now?
No, I don't. I actually don't think I'm going to go in the robotics industry because I think it's a fascinating industry, and I just like learning, but I don't think I'm positioned. Anything is possible, but I know where I have my competitive advantages in, and there's opportunity everywhere. I think it's a crazy opportunity, but I'm not. Like, I wasn't fucking building robot. Like, there's so many goons that were just like building so many robots when they were a kid. Like, I can't compete with those kids because they know so much more than me. I'm just a businessman. Like,
Right, but at the same time, you also have a lot of context about a lot of different industries. You also
Yeah.
seem like a very charismatic person. You don't
Yeah.
you're not confident that you could like figure it out?
I actually probably could. I think anybody, if they have enough conviction, could figure out any industry. I just think where my like competitive advantage is just not in an industry like robotics.
Yeah.
And also it's a very risky bet, and I'm not really maximizing for like I'm not really maximizing to spend like 20 years in a robotics startup and like 20 years later then become a billionaire. Like, that's not really...
No, right. You don't strike me as someone who would ever like really work for like in an environment. You always
No.
seem like you'd be the man behind the chair, like you're
No.
kind of doing your own thing.
I think I think I'm also really realizing like I don't care that much about money, to be honest.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, like not really. Like, I think the marginal benefit you get from money after like your net worth is 10M is like almost like what like the only really big step up after 10M is like private jet. But it's like, do I really give a fuck about a private jet? Like, am I really willing to spend 10 extra years of working when I'm 20 and I'm young and I'm sexy and I have all this energy so I can be on a fucking private jet? Like, I don't really give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? And I think I don't really give a fuck about like material stuff either. Like the watches I don't like. I think you can be making 10K a month and have insane drip if you're tasteful. Like you don't need all this money. Like the thing is like people think like girls like care a lot about watches and all this shit, so they like fucking get a crazy watch and a crazy car. Like what I realized is that going back to girls is girls don't care at all about money unless like there's a lot of like unspoken prostitutes and that like
Unspoken process.
yeah, I think this is something I wanted to touch on earlier, but we went in a completely different direction. There's a lot of like unspoken prostitutes where it's like, and you see these girls on Instagram, they're always on a yacht or a private jet or something, and it's like they're always with super rich guys, right? And it's just kind of like their whole business model is I'm just hot, and rich guys pay me to be around them, and they give me money, right? And that's their hustle, and it's chill, right? That's how you want to make your bread. You make your bread, but we have to acknowledge that that's actually what's going on, right? And I figured this out like both empirically and also just by like asking girls and asking my friends and their experiences. I think it's a huge fallacy that girls care a lot about money. And actually it's quite the opposite. Well, it's not the opposite, but it's like girls don't care about the money directly at all. And I think girls don't really fuck with a guy that's just all about the money. That's all about like I've never really like been with like one of my girlfriends and like I was talking about business and they were like really into it, Like like they don't really care about how much money you're making. They don't really care about like business, at least like from what I've seen. I think what girls like, and guys kind of get this wrong, is like girls like spontaneity. Girls like adventure and excitement, and money just unlocks that. And money just unlocks that for your life. And I think girls like it, but also human beings just like that. I think human beings just want to have fun. And like girls just want to be with fun guys, and money enables you to be more fun. And I think that's where guys get it wrong, where it's like I need to fucking grind all the time, but like it's kind of shooting yourself in the foot, because if you're always fucking grinding and you already have a bunch of bread, but you never have the time to go be spontaneous and go to your girl like, oh, we're going to Paris this weekend. Let's go. Fucking cab's gonna be here 20 minutes. Get ready, babe. Let's go to fucking Paris for a weekend, right? That's what I think girls like. Like I don't think girls give a fuck about no Rolex. I don't think I think they like nice dinners, but like really the marginal return of dinners after like a dinner's $100 for two people versus like $20,000. Like, is it really that much better?
What do you think about the other things like confidence, more like safety, maybe like bigger guys where you feel like more protected?
Yeah. I think girls really fuck with confidence. I think that's a huge blanket statement, but like
No, but like what's interesting is like I think money breeds confidence in a way, but
I don't think it does.
But you don't need it to have it. Does that make sense?
I think there's a correlation between confident guys and rich guys, but I wouldn't say money breeds confidence, because if that was the case, then every guy with money would be confident. That's not true. Like a lot of guys with money are really fucking weird.
No, but that
rich guys
but like I feel like they're more likely to be, for lack of a better way of saying it, like an asshole, because they're like, oh, you know what, I don't care. Like they move through life with like a I don't care mentality, and I think that kind of translates to like the confidence, because they know they have the money, and then everything else around them just is viewed as an object or anything that they can obtain.
Yeah. Well, what are we discussing? Are we talking about female attraction? Are we talking about...
Right. So, like you said, the most important part is spontaneity.
It's one of the money... I don't think it's the most important part, but it's one of the... I think it's one of the key things that makes girls attracted to you, is that if you are spontaneous person, I think girls appreciate that a lot.
I wonder if that's only like a young thing though. Like
I
that,
don't think so.
because the way you think about it, I'm thinking about travel, right? I'm thinking a lot of like
Yeah. So I
moving
think
around.
it's not young. I think it's a human nature thing. So we have studies that show two things, right? We have studies that show people who have highly regimented lives where they kind of go 30 years working the same job, doing the same thing, waking up at the same time, are unhappier on average and feel the time of life passing by faster. Like, you ever hear an unk being like, 20 years ago felt just like yesterday, right? I think that idea coincides with unhappiness very strongly. We also have the Anthony Bourdain data studies, etc., of like, it is factually proven trips that aren't planned out are more enjoyable and you get more out of it than trips that like have an itinerary and you're doing all this shit, right? Now, what we're measuring in both those studies is human satisfaction. And it's not an age group. It's not like trips taken by young people. It's trips taken by humans. And like, I trust that these studies were done correctly. Maybe they're stupid BuzzFeed studies and there weren't actual scientists on it, but like, let's just assume that I trust that these were done well. This applies to all ages. And I really think it's a I and you read these books by like Robert Greene and stuff. You know Robert Greene?
Yeah, 48 Laws of Power or
No,
Seduction, or
48
which one are
Laws
you
of
referring
Power is
to anyway?
retarded. The Laws of Human Nature, one of the best books ever written.
Okay.
And he talks about it where it's like he talks about how much people are like want to feel young and spontaneous, and like if you go to someone who's hyper corporate and serious and like you can bring young energy, people will like be so attracted and connected, like sexually or not sexually or just like casually, like people will love that so much. And you like look, yeah, and you look at these people that have a bunch of energy, and it's like we call this like aura, right? It's these people that like always have energy, you know, that are always making they it's like they're always feeling
It
alive, you
feels like
know?
they figured something out that like you're
Yeah.
kind of missing, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
and you realize and you see these people and you're like, I really fuck with being around this person. See, this is where we don't the psychology isn't even gendered, but we can use it as an example for attraction. Like that same psychology of like you're around someone who's really fun. For example, like Mason's a good example of this, right? Mason has a bunch of energy and he's just fun to be around because he always wants to go do shit, right?
Yes.
I'm attracted to Mason. Not that I want to put my dick in him, but like I'm attracted to Mason because he's a fun guy. And it's the same thing with girls. It's like girls want to be with someone who has that same energy of like, I always want to go do something. I always want to be spontaneous. Let's go do this. But guys get it wrong because they just see like money as the prereq to that, which unfortunately it is now in the world that we live in. Like you can't really, I mean, actually travel's gotten cheaper, but like you can't really just go do shit without having a lot of money. You can't really go out and eat dinner. Like you can't really have a nice place. You can't really have a car. Like you need to be making bread, right? So the guys that are able to do that have money. And I think what men see, but they're not thinking critically enough about it, is like they see somebody with money and then they see like, okay, he's attracting girls. So money equals girls, but that's a correlation, not a causation. The causation is that money equals spontaneity, equals fun, equals time off, equals adventure. Then that's girls, right? Again, I'm excluding the unspoken prostitution. That's
This is such a funny term.
yeah. I mean it's a huge thing. You could look into it more and you'll find that it's actually kind of a huge thing. But
So do you think I like the analogies that you're getting, right? At
Yeah.
this, I feel like it kind of goes back to women for you, which is pretty interesting. Do you think you had this obsession with creating money because of that as well?
no, I don't. I'll tell you the obsession for money, honestly, and I think I'm kind of an edge case here, had nothing to do uh with girls. Um when I was growing up in LA, I grew up in Pacific Palisades, which is a really nice neighborhood in LA. And my parents were doing pretty well for themselves until they got divorced. They got divorced when I was around 8 years old. And I was enrolled in this really nice, it goes from preschool to middle school. And it was
like the school, like
Yeah, it
it's
was a
like
nice
almost like
private
kind
school.
of it's a private school.
Yeah, it was a Catholic private school that it wasn't a super expensive one. There were some crazy ones that were like $80,000. Like this one was like 6K a year, which is nothing crazy. But you kind of needed like a recommendation to get in. And my mom went there and my grandma like worked like with them. So I got in. So did my sister, right? And at that school, like we had really well off kids that were going there just because it was a really great school. And I grew up around these kids, and I this is like my friend group, and I really fuck with all these kids a lot. We have so many memories together. But all my friends were super rich. And after my parents got divorced, I lived with my mom alone. My mom never gave me any bread. I wasn't wearing all these nice clothes and shit. I wasn't getting haircuts every 3 weeks. You know,
What grade were you in at this time?
my parents got divorced when I was probably like somewhere between like kindergarten and second grade maybe. So and then I grow up in like eighth grade. I start to really feel, like it was kind of unspoken, like third through sixth grade, because I wasn't like really conscious about money or class or anything like, but I felt like these kids kind of like we were friends, but they kind of belittled me,
Really?
and
How so?
I mean, because their parents were just like, yo, this kid's fucking, his parents are divorced, his parents aren't making that much money, like, they're low class, like, that's what people saw. Like, compared to the entire world, I'm still in, like, the top 1%, right? But comparative to these kids, where it's like, these kids were living in $20 million cribs, and this was my friend, like, these were my friends. Like, compared to them, I was, like, low class, which, like, is objectively ridiculous, right? But, and it wasn't, like, something malicious. It was just kind of, like, their parents like trying to caution. I was also kind of a weird kid. And I started to feel this a lot stronger in high school. There was like this trend in high school where, junior, senior year, like kids started to fucking rent out tables at clubs. And like I obviously was not about to drop $500 in high school. Like I was grinding in high school. I was selling drugs. I was doing all this random shit trying to make money. Like I was not about to drop $500 fucking. I didn't have like a parent's aim.
So you're already hustling like in high school.
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
Yeah, I was actually doing some cool shit in high school, but um, I grew such a strong insecurity about myself and like my money when I was in high school, and honestly, I felt very insecure about it until this year when I started making money. And
All the way up till now.
yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Like it was I was pretty upset about this in college, especially because I knew I couldn't bring myself to do like the investment banking or the consulting. So I was like I didn't have the safety net of like these internships of like doing investment banking internships, and they're making decent bread. Investment banking internship, you make like 30 racks a summer, right? I didn't have that safety net. I knew I wanted to start my own thing, but I hadn't seen the success yet. I was still broke, and all my friends were kind of just like, teasing me like, "Oh, Dylan's so broke, all this shit," like, and to them it's not that deep, and it's like I find myself teasing my roommates like, "You're fucking broke" all the time now that I'm making money, but and like in my mind it's not that deep, but now I like try to have empathy because I feel, sometimes I remember how I felt when like somebody was shitting on me about how much money I had, and that built such a strong insecurity where I felt like a beggar, and I would like kind of like see like people like look down on me and like almost like my friend group. And it's interesting because it's like we're all really good friends, but it's still interesting how groups of especially men like they operate, right? And like the politics and dynamics inside male friend groups, because it was a large male friend group with like 20 people. Like I felt me getting belittled and shit on, and like kind of like almost like hate, but it was like love but also hate for my friend group. And then I felt that paradigm switch to like almost like distance once I started becoming successful, because it was like I was no longer broke, and now it's like, okay, what is Dylan's position now? And you know you always see this in songs where it's like people want to shit on you, but they actually don't want you to change because they like shitting on you. So then when you change, it's kind of like now it's no longer like this emotional like attack, but it's kind of like distance. It's kind of like, what the fuck is this kid? Like, who is this kid? Like, what? Like, this is weird. you know? So I felt myself, like, as I became more successful, a lot of my friends back home, I became very distant from them. And it was funny and it was interesting where it was like I went to Berkeley and I completely like feel like I transformed as a person, you know, and my values and stuff transformed. And I come back to LA and usually I would resort back. Like, you know, people talk about all the time. It's like they do all this shit and they come back home for the holidays and they revert back and it's like this really weird feeling of like reverting back into like kind of your old shell and it's really uncomfortable. But this time coming back, I was like, I'm not finna let that happen. Like, I'm gonna go back and be me, who I've built and I've worked hard to become. And it's like I would hang out with my old friend group and maybe there would be like little microaggressions. And for example, like one of my friends, we were like trying to make a plan and then he was like, every time he would end a sentence, he would say like little guy, little bro. And I was like, and he says this like all the time, and I don't even think it's like intentionally malicious, but I was just basically like, hey, you can't say that to me.
So I always wondered what would happen when I got to that point, right? Because the reason why, first off, thank you for sharing that. That was amazing because I felt like I saw myself during that because I have that voice too. It's like, oh shit, I'm not making enough money. I am friends with all these ambitious people. The one guy that I know just bought a Urus, and I'm just sitting
Yeah.
here like, what the fuck am I doing? You know,
Yeah.
what am I not seeing that everybody else sees? But you know, everybody love like you absorb very similar content. You know, a lot of like self help. Everyone loves to talk about like that change, right? Of like, oh, what happens when you make more money? Similar to what you're saying, distancing. But I sometimes wonder because I personally, I feel like I don't know if it was the way I kind of set my circle up. I don't know if it's like my delusional part of myself, but it's like I feel like I have very supportive friends all across the board,
Yeah.
right? Like, no, I barely have anyone shitting on me. Like
Yeah.
even the way I am right now. So even if I made money, I feel like I'd only want to treat everyone like because of how well like my circle I feel like has treated me. So when you say distancing, I know that you said sometimes they would say like little bro,
Yeah.
or and you would feel like this disrespect that you like would not tolerate.
Yeah.
Do you think that is the case for? Do you think it's entirely on them, or do you think there's a little bit of you
No.
also who wants to like get away from them?
I want to.
I hope that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, what you said will make sense, and I'll answer your question in a second. First, I want to preface this with it's hard to change social dynamics when they've been set in a place, right? So, since the dawn of my relationship with my friend group back home, again, I don't want to, if any of them are watching this, I actually really fuck with them, and we have a lot of good times together. This has kind of always been the dynamic. You know, Dylan is this, like, we're all loaded. Dylan, you know, he's short,
That's right.
skinny,
Yeah.
he has acne, whatever, right? You know, it's interesting, empirically, because I moved into this house, which is like my Berkeley friend group, and complete opposite dynamic. I think in this house, like everybody, not only is this house really respectful of everything I do, and they think it's really cool, but it's like, you know, everybody's kind of grinding and like, you know, everybody's kind of trying to make it out, you know. So I think I relate a lot more to this house than I related to that friend group because like at the end of the day, if that friend group, any of them like kind of fucked up, like parents, insta house, insta million, wire to the account. It's not that deep, right? And I think if you have that safety net in your mind, you kind of think in a different way. Whereas like everybody that lived here either made it out, like you met Satya, like he sold his company, right? Or is actively trying to make it out, right? And it's just like a different mindset because there isn't parent insta Zell $1 million house. There you go for any of these kids here, right? So to answer your question is no, I don't think it was all me being a victim, but I think a social dynamic was set in this friend group, and I think it's very hard to change a social dynamic once it's set. So, and I think honestly, with them, I think we're just drifted so much, and that's just the unfortunate part of growing up.
Yeah.
Is that there was a time and a place where you had really strong relationships because you guys bonded over what we were doing at the time. At the time, LA, throwing parties at the beach, throwing parties at people's houses, driving around, not giving a fuck, you know, just doing shit like fucking smoking hookah in the woods, like shit that was just like fun at the time, but it's like that was a time and a place. Now my interests are different and their interests are different, right? And again, I don't want to sound like I'm gassing myself up, but like if you are someone who is constantly changing and constantly like wanting to do things, you are going to evolve as a person. And a lot of people just aren't really going to change. And the person that you were when you were friends with somebody versus the person that you become, it's a very unfortunate reality that like it's sometimes awkward to see an old friend because they've either haven't changed or they went in a completely different direction, you went in a completely different direction, and what you had originally bonded over is different. It's kind of like the feeling of like trying to replay Minecraft and you don't feel the same excitement that you once did because you are a completely different person, and now you have different opportunity costs, and now you have different shit on your mind, different frameworks and different contexts of the world and shit, and trying to go back, you're not going to be able to teleport back into who you were, and it's just the unfortunate reality.
While you were talking, I also kind of realized that you were talking about elementary school friends. Like when I thought
high school.
I think about the people that I'm still in touch. The furthest I go is one guy that I've like stayed like really in touch with from
Yeah.
middle school.
Yeah.
That's as far as I go. When I think about the people I hung out with elementary school, I would like, yeah, I was a completely different person.
Yeah.
You're right. So if I was to be set up in that dynamic, maybe I would actually feel the same way as you.
Yeah.
But I think around high school, especially, like I think the mindset I've had or the mindset I built because of the way I was raised has been pretty consistent. So therefore, it kind of reflected in my circle, and that I guess is why it's like stayed so stable.
Yeah.
That's kind of like my reflection on what you said.
Yeah.
What I'm curious about is this, right? So you know you went to a good school, and you also know that either way you would have been taken care of, I'm assuming. I'm just making assumptions here. You
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong. Like if you took risks, you wouldn't be homeless.
Yeah, I
You
wouldn't.
would
I
always
would.
like
I would
be
go
fine.
move in with one of my friends or my mom or somebody. Like I knew I was never gonna be homeless, which is like is kind of like I think the more safety nets you have, the less drive you have. I think I kind of am in a sweet spot where it's like I think a lot of people act out of fear, because some people dead ass don't have any safety nets. Like they don't have a fucking mom or a dad that like or like a friend that they can, like at the end of the day, even if my parents were like fuck you, like I would go find a friend and just live on his couch and figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry to
No, but like I was establishing that context because I'm sure when you were actually doing all this, like
Yeah.
you made it sound very like you're a very confident person now, and you were kind of talking about like, oh yeah, I discovered this while I was researching this,
Yeah.
but I'm sure there was a part of this story where like it was really difficult for you,
Yeah.
right? Like in terms of like actually starting, in terms of actually like
Yeah.
generating capital. So like, how did you get over that? I guess voice in your head, like it's like you have a safety net, you're not going to be homeless,
Yeah.
you're trying to make money, it doesn't work out, and instead of saying, oh, you know what, I'm happy with what I do, like what made you push past that and say
So
like you know what,
it's two
this pain
things.
is going
It's
to become
I
something else.
know how bad the fucking Matrix is. Like I'm a little autistic, a little ADHD. I like to talk a lot. That's just like corporate life is just not cool with that. I know how good how bad the Matrix is. I know how good freedom feels.
Well, let's go more into that.
Yeah.
Like what do you mean by I know how bad the Matrix is? Explain
20
that to me. Like
years.
what do you think of the Matrix?
20 years working, making somebody else rich, doing some boring ass shit, getting paid like basically not that much bread, with 3 weeks paid time off, sitting down indoors all day is fucking terrible. And like I don't think enough people are acknowledging, like I would rather fucking go do surveys and make $20 a day and live in Indonesia than do that. Cuz it's just like humans are not supposed to do that. And I'm sure all these people will give like me really complicated arguments like, "Oh, well, actually family and all this shit and you like actually could get a lot out." Like the thing is for me, it's like I don't have any direct family I need to take care of. My mom's chill. My mom can take care of herself. Dad's chill, take care of herself. My grandma, 91, we're really close, but she's gonna pass away. Like my sister's taking care of herself. Like I don't. I'm thankfully like not indebted to people. Like my parents will be fine even if I supported. Obviously, I'm gonna support them, but like even if I couldn't, they'd be fine, right? So like that was like the minimum baseline where it's like this is not even really an option. I think most of it is like I'm really petty, and it's like I think I have a lot of energy. Like, I think, like I talk a lot. I have a lot of creative energy, and I just can't see myself giving that to somebody else to make them rich. It's like, it feels like exploitation, right? I think a huge part of it, and Alex from Rosie talks about this. Like, it's like you either need to be fueled by love, passion, hate, anger to get through. And I'm starting to realize this is that a huge part of me wanting to be successful was making sure I was right, and like proving all my friends. And the way it sounds like I'm talking about my friends in this podcast sounds like I fucking hate them, but I actually were really close. But it's like there was just complicated politics and dynamics with them. But I was so dead set, even when I didn't believe it. I still kind of didn't believe it, but I was like, fuck the Matrix, fuck corporate, fuck Goldman Sachs, fuck Morgan Stanley, fuck McKinsey, fuck all of that. Escape the Matrix, start your own business. It can't be that hard, right? I was so dead set on being that person that could do that.
Since when?
Studying abroad really changed my life. I thankfully was like went abroad when I was a sophomore instead of most people go junior year. I think most people should go sophomore year because I think sophomore year is very formative. You understand kind of where your life path is gonna go, and then junior year you kind of hammer that in for most people. And sophomore year, I was like, I knew deep inside I wanted to like do my own thing, but I still felt like, I could go corporate and I could work because you go to Berkeley, you get a job, whatever, like you're white. Like you get a fucking job, And like, I mean, that's just the reality of it, And I went abroad and I didn't bring my phone. I had an iPhone. This is when I
Oh
was
my
abroad.
gosh.
This is the only phone I brought with me.
It's my first phone I ever had as a kid.
Yeah. And I didn't have a SIM. It could connect to the internet. You feel it. It actually feels amazing. I think
Usually
this
the
is
battery blows up on these, so
yeah.
I'm really impressed.
Well, this is actually it's kind of a scam. It's not actually a 5. It's a iPhone SE first generation.
SE,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, I would kill to get an SE
And
back
like,
in the day.
You have the small phone. You can't really like get Instagram, Snapchat. It doesn't really work on there. Like, you can get like emergency shit, train tickets.
Did you happen to have this, or did you buy
I
it just
bought
for
this,
the sake of it?
and
Oh,
like
wow.
I went abroad and I left my phone at home, and I was like, this is going to be. That was one of the bravest decisions I've ever made, and I was like, this is going to be where I figure out life abroad, like, and figure out what I actually want, and like totally forget about all the shit. Like, that's why it was so smart to go sophomore year, because like junior year, second semester, bro, you're already like thinking about an internship, and you've already like kind of basically chose your life path at that point. Sophomore year, you don't know anything, and I was so blessed with my experience being abroad, where I lived at my friend's dad's house, and my friend's dad is the president of this really big institution that handles a few $1 trillion of capital. And he like obviously lived a crazy life. He had this really nice house. I lived with my friends in his house, and we traveled all the time. I went to all these countries, and I saw all these people, and like I had this insane experience, and it was just complete like life maxing.
Wait, I'm sorry. So this guy was like a part of your abroad program?
No,
Or-
no, this was just a friend of mine.
Oh, this is a friend
my
of yours.
friend's dad.
Your friend's dad, and then you like met up with them while you were abroad?
No, I lived in his house.
You lived in his house?
Yeah.
Okay.
And me and him were pretty tight. And I learned so much from him, and I learned so much from traveling, and I saw like the peak of like money. Like I traveled in first class, and I went to all these crazy restaurants, and I was like, okay, this is the peak of what it is. And like it's like cool, but it's not anything like insane, You don't understand. Like you see all these Bali influencers and you think they're full of shit, but like low key they're on to something. Like and I met this girl who was like a really good friend of mine in Turkey, and she was an influencer in Turkey, and she lived the coolest life I've ever seen of anybody, where she got paid tons of money to fucking make stupid videos once a month.
It's like an influencer.
Yeah, like she'd do a product video. She was really good at what she does. And then unlimited motion, invited everywhere, flown out all the time to all these fucking crazy parties and shit. And it was like, I was like, damn, like this life is fucking amazing. Like I've met billionaires. I've met all these crazy rich people that do all this shit. I've never met anybody with a cool life as hers. And that was really inspiring to me, where I was like, fuck. Like, and the shit that she was doing was genuinely really cool. Like, she was making films and stuff. And like,
Oh, this wasn't just your normal UGC content.
no, like she would do that to pay the bills, but like even the UGC stuff she would do would be like really artsy and cool. But like she would just make movies, and it's cool because like most movie people are just unemployed, but like she would make movies, people would actually fuck with them. She had like 1 million followers on Instagram, and like her life was amazing. And I was like, fuck, like now this sets the bar of like I know how good life can get, and I know how good freedom feels. So it was, to summarize your question, it was A, I was terrified of the corporate life. B, I wanted to prove myself right and my friends wrong. And C, going abroad and like experiencing freedom without a fucking phone, without Instagram, without Snapchat, without watching the news or giving a fuck about anything, showed me like, damn, like life is actually amazing. And I felt like for a little bit in that moment like a hunter gatherer. Like I was like, damn, like I don't really give a fuck about anything. Like I'm just eating, traveling, and it's amazing, you know?
Tell me more about like the situation you're in before you decide to move on. So you said, I want to figure things out. You weren't really sure what to do. What do you think your mental space was between the transition, I guess, from high school to college
Bro,
up to a point you?
terrible. Like I was
Why? You
like,
said because you said it was euphoria earlier when like
well,
you just came in.
after the transition. I wouldn't say it was direct euphoria, but it I would say like right now it's like right now my life is low-key euphoria, which is nice. And I think it like my mindset right now is like pretty good, where it kind of allows me to like talk really well because I'm just generally like in a really good place. But freshman year, I feel like I was a completely different person almost, where and it makes it seem like the money changed everything, but I wouldn't say it was the money. I think it was the certainty in my own identity, not the money, right? Because I feel like I felt this way before I was making bread, but like freshman year was really hard, and I think a lot of people in Berkeley have a similar experience than what I have, and they're currently experiencing something very similar. Not even Berkeley, just like college students in general, where it's like I'm kind of tapping onto what we were talking about like really early in this conversation. Is a lot of people are just doing shit not because they actually want to do it, but it's just like they feel like they should. Like I feel like I should go to Taco Tuesday. I feel like I should go to this party. I feel like I should go into this industry or major in this, and they don't really know what they want. And that's how I felt, like really strongly. And I think that's how a lot of people feel really strongly, is like, and they kind of try to mask it because they want to act cool. And that I was trying to mask it because I'm trying to act cool. And I was like, not knowing what you want to do is like really painful, but it's something you have to go through. And kind of like what you were saying is like, it's really hard, A, just intrinsically, but then B, when you see people with a fucking Urus and you're like, fuck, what am I doing? And you almost feel like this shiny object syndrome / like, I should do this effect, where you're like, okay, he's doing drop shipping or he's doing private equity, he's making bread, now I have to do that. And now you're going to go do some shit that you actually have no background in, and there's no reason why. You just saw the output of somebody, and now you're like, fuck, you got stressed, and now you want to go do that, right? And that feeling was me for so long, where I would see people that were successful, and I was like, fuck, and I would feel guilty for myself. But the reality is, and this is the unfortunate reality, because it's an unsatisfying answer, is, and I think, honestly, not that I'm trying to give you advice, but maybe this is something that could be helpful for you, or at least calming for you, because when I got this advice, it was calming for me too. Is the unfortunate reality is that people sometimes will be 18, like Raw Dogger was 18, and they make it out. Some people will be 30 and they make it out. What you'll see among all these people is that what they was constant was just energy, working hard, and confidence, you know? And when it happened, it just happened, you know? And what do you even define as what happened? Because are my friends really different after they've exited their company? Am I really different between like how I was 8 months ago and how I am now that I'm making more money? I don't really know. You know, do I feel really different? Not really. But from the outside looking in, it's like, oh, now he figured it out. But it was like, I think figuring it out is kind of more like a mentality. Like, I want to do this, I'm going to do this, and I'm confident it's going to work. And then you see the money. And then you can only really measure things externally in money. So you're like, oh, now he figured it out, right? So what's the concise theme of what I'm saying is like, it's easy to get stressed out when you see somebody that's 22 and they raised a bunch of money, but often the headline is misleading. You don't see them, committing to something when they were 16 and doing it every day and making no bread, and then like kind of being miserable and not really knowing, and then finally it works, right? What you need to do if you're in this space right now, and I'm not trying to be like fucking Jesus and give advice, but this is just something I wish somebody told me, is like, you kind of just have to put your head down and do shit that you know is important and work hard and have energy and not being out on your phone and watch reels and get fucking butthurt every day and not chase like all these stupid like girls or boys, whatever, and hook up with all these random people and do all this stupid shit that you don't actually want to do. You're just doing it because everybody is telling you should do it. Like, do shit that you know is good, and you'll figure out what you actually want, and then that moment will happen for you. It's like almost guaranteed. I don't want to give it a 100% guarantee, but like 99% chance, like if you stop listening to the noise and you just do shit that you know is good and that you know is quality and you work hard, you will pivot and pivot and pivot and pivot, and it's going to be annoying, but one pivot and you're going to work hard and you'll finally do it and it'll click, and then like once it clicks crazy. It's kind of like the people that do Google ads. It's like they do Google ads for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. They lose money, and then they make money. And then when they make money, they make more money and more money and more money. And then like month 7, they're like, "Fuck, I'm making so much money that doesn't even feel real."
Exactly. And then our favorite one of the podcasts we both listen to is Founders. David Summer always talks about this. It's like history's greatest entrepreneurs won because they had an unrelentless focus towards one thing, and they did it for a really long time.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that, and we forget that. I want to kind of bring up I think you'd like this new topic about like I guess purpose or what you should do after you make the money, but I want to stay on this topic for a little bit because earlier you said you were describing we were talking about giving yourself credit.
Yeah.
And then you were talking about Berkeley, how like everybody made it, like you should be happy about yourself. And then you also talked about like being able to have the opportunity to experience abroad in a different lifestyle than most people have.
Yes.
So what I wanted to ask you was like, what do you like, similar to the advice you just gave right now? Maybe someone is, or maybe the person behind the camera is like, oh, this advice is useless to me because this guy is experiencing things that I'm not going to experience. I'm going to not a well-known school. I'm going to some state university.
Yeah.
And then I'm also I don't know if I can go abroad. I have to take care of my family, or maybe I go abroad, but I never had like an experience like you. Like how would you keep their confidence going? Like I know you kind of gave advice right now about like what you should do, but how do you also reinforce that to say like you're not just talking to people that are like you're also talking to people that don't have that?
So let me tell you a story about this entrepreneur where his dad was a doctor, and his dad was always saying like, get into you don't have to be a doctor, but get into something medical related, right? Because I know so much about medicine and I could give you all the connections and help you out all the time. And the entrepreneur, was like, I can't do that because everybody will say I wasn't self-made, I was nepo, and nobody will actually respect me, right? That entrepreneur was actually Alex Hormozy. And I don't know if you're like really into him, but like I'm really into him. And obviously he went to a different industry and became super successful, but like looking back on it, he was like, fuck, I could have leveraged my dad's connections and started a huge biotech company and got rich way faster than waiting until I was 35, right? And the reason why I bring this up is I think people A, are ashamed of the competitive advantages that they have, or B, don't even really think about them. Everybody, no matter what, has a competitive advantage in some way, right? So let's give an example of a kid going to Chico State. Maybe his parents are immigrants from Mexico, right? And he's into stocks, maybe, right? And he's maybe in that same situation. He's watching this. I don't go to Berkeley. I don't have rich friends that have houses abroad. I can't really go abroad. Like this advice is kind of useless. But the advice that I would like to say is like what I did was I saw like the unique opportunities that I had and I took full advantage of them. Like I had friends that had lucky enough, and I'm not saying like obviously this was like very lucky for this use case was I had friends that were really familiar with Europe that could travel, and I also realized that low-key traveling is not even that expensive if you do it correctly. But and I leverage that, and I use and abuse the fact that I go to Berkeley, and I actually feel bad because I've mentioned Berkeley so many times in this podcast, but it's just like I actually don't even like think about it that much, but in this podcast it's like I don't know. And let's look back at this kid, right? Like so maybe he doesn't have that much bread. His parents are from Mexico, but he speaks Spanish. So now it's like he has this huge competitive advantage that he speaks Spanish, right? Or maybe his parents are landscapers, and now he has this competitive advantage where he has insight to the landscaping industry because his parents do landscaping, right? So he speaks Spanish, he has landscaping. This is just an example. What he could do is be like, okay, this is two things that I have that most people don't have. So I can take advantage of this opportunity where it's like, I know about tech and maybe some things like this. My parents have knowledge about landscaping, and I speak Spanish. Let me combo all these together and let me sell some tech forward service to landscapers that are from Mexico and they only speak Spanish, right? That's an industry I wouldn't be able to compete in because I don't have that competitive advantage, right? So the point that I'm trying to make here is it's a really bad mindset to look at somebody telling a story being like, oh, like X, Y, and Z happened and this happened and like it worked out really great for me, right? Because you're like, oh, well, if I had that, then I would have done that, right? But the thing is like, I think really successful people see what they have an advantage in and they just go full in and they completely take advantage of that, right? Because the only way you really win is by being unfair. If everything was fair, then nobody would be rich, right? So the advice I have for that theoretical person is think really deeply, maybe even journal about it. Like, what am I uniquely good at? What am I uniquely positioned at? And how can I exploit that as much as possible to become successful? Because realistically, that's the only way that it's going to work. Is that like you need to figure out, I'm good at this, so I should do this, right? Because people will just kill you in any other industry, Like for my first business, the staging one, my mom's a real estate agent. That's how I had the insight to know like, oh, like fucking staging is super ass and like they're charging $60 a photo and it looks like shit. There's an opportunity here, you know? Without my mom being so tapped into real estate, I wouldn't have known that. Um so I think that's enough for that question.
What do you think you would do after you got, let's talk about what you would do after you get the money. Let's say you said diminishing returns after 10 mil
Yeah.
year. What is life after that?
So what I really want to do in like the next 5 years is I honestly like want to, and this is really good that we're doing this right now because I want to get really comfortable in front of cameras. I want to make as much videos and free game as possible that I can because I just fucking love it. Like I made that video, like the LLC video. Bro, so many people don't even know this, but you can make an LLC for like $30 in like 10 minutes. And like people are like, fuck, the LLC, it's too hard. I'm not gonna start a business.
It's not from Delaware. It's not $200.
Yeah.
Must be
I
fake.
did New Mexico. New Mexico's the cheapest one and the fastest one. But I really want to make as many videos as possible. And a childhood dream of mine is like, you when you were a kid, you see the FaZe Clan, the Content House. That just sounds so much fun. I kind of want to capture that energy of like having, and I'm down to like spend a bunch of money on rent. There's like this house that me and Sean were looking at in Hollywood. It's $12K a month. It's 4 stories right next to the Hollywood sign. And I just can't stop daydreaming about having this house, not because it's a nice house, but like I'm thinking like have this house, fucking dinner parties every night, people at the crib all the time, people always here doing shit, filming shit. Downstairs, like there's this huge theater, turn this into an office, have a bunch of people working, maybe even like run like an incubator where there's a bunch of like young kids who are like grinding working on the business, and we just like supply them with like Red Bulls and steak, and like it's just like super fire. Like, and like I realize like at least where I am right now, my favorite thing is just like hosting people, helping people, feeding people, making sure other people have a good time. I, I really love it, and that's kind of why the I really love the class, because the class is kind of like that, but more productive, where it's like everybody's super cool and working super hard, and it's like chill. We play music, like it's not that serious. Like I just want to be in a state of constantly doing that and constantly like getting people to connect with each other and like having a good time and throwing parties, contrary to what I sounded like Unc earlier, but like I really like parties. I think humans are very social creatures, and like living in a house with 7 people has been one of the best decisions of my life. Like I've never been happier than what it is now. So I think that's my main goal for the next couple years. I also want to travel as much as possible, make as many videos traveling, and like there's so much out there in the world, and it's like it's unfortunate, like a lot of people are like they just don't have the bread to travel. I want to first show that like it's low-key not like the thing is like it's not that hard to make a few $1,000s a month. It really isn't, because like a lot of people that are like, I'm not that smart and I'm making a few $1,000s a month, people way dumber than me, TikTok shop, are making fucking unreal bread, like not even working that hard, fucking life insurance scammers, like they're making a bunch of bread, right? It's not that hard to make some money, and it's also not that expensive to travel. And the ROI you get on traveling, especially when you're young and you're like trying all this shit and all this food and meeting all these people for the first time, it's like it's not even like a question. Like it's literally the best use of your money right now. Like you can always make, hopefully you can always make bread unless the Matrix takes over and like it's really actually really hard to make bread. But at that point, it wouldn't even really matter. Like, but you can't be fucking 20 in like Turkey, like meeting all crazy people and doing all this crazy shit. Like, I want to travel, but I want to like don't. I hate kind of like the travel vloggers. I think they're kind of really cringe. I want to travel, but show like it's not that deep, and it's like really fun. Like I really respect someone like I Show Speed, and he's traveling and showing like it's not that deep. You just go and talk to people and like travel and have fun. Obviously he has bread now, but like it, I think that's like a really powerful message I want to get out, where it's like yeah, it's kind of
What's
like
a powerful message?
like that you can like traveling. The return you get on traveling is incredible. Like it completely changed my life. Like
Just
traveling
because
is
of the
super fire.
perspective, just because of the
Yeah,
life,
I mean, just like
or...
all, because traveling.
Break that down for me.
Okay, I would say like traveling and like not really giving a fuck is how I acquired all my stories to tell. And me being able to tell the stories is a huge part of why my life is good. Cuz now I'm a storyteller. Now people are like fuck with me because I tell good stories, right? And then that you kind of combine that with like the idea of owning a house and having dinners where I can tell stories, other people can tell stories, and like everybody's developing so much and connecting so much, right? And I meet someone from any country that I've been to, Ireland or like Germany, Netherlands, Turkey, Japan, whatever. Like I've gone to that country, now I can connect with you so much better. Now we have so much more to talk about. And people, if you're looking at it from a monetary standpoint, like you actually get a clear like money ROI if you're like a well-traveled person. You have a lot to talk about because you're just an interesting person, and if you're an interesting person, you have shit to talk about. Opportunity just comes your way.
This is an interesting topic for me because I saw this one video from Backstate that I actually agree with. Do you know Backstate Carter?
No.
He's like this more of like a tech influencer. He's a guy who is working for a company that acquired by Nvidia, and now he's like trying to like educate the younger generation. And so a bunch of these hot takes. One of his takes was like, traveling doesn't make you interesting. Being interesting makes you interesting.
Yeah.
Right?
I've actually heard that quote.
Have you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like,
well, a lot of people travel like a pussy. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, a lot of people travel. They stay in the hotel. They do some pussy ass itinerary. Like, you should travel. And like, we have this term like bean. Like, if like for example, last week, me and Sean were in my mom's house in LA, and because of the fires, thankfully my house didn't burn down. But because of the fires, we had to throw out all our furniture. So we're just me and him, 2 air mattresses, messy ass house, no kitchen, no electricity, sleeping on the floor. That was fucking bean. But it was so much fun, and like our work ethic to grind and get shit done was just great, and it was also really fun, And I think you should travel, and it should be fucking bean. Like when it's bean, it's fun. When you're in like some shitty ass hostel, and it's like you're drinking some cheap ass alcohol, and you're like with all these other young people, then it's like some crazy story is gonna happen, right? You're like with all these young people, you're all drunk, you're all in some shit hostel. Like when I went to Paris for the Olympics, right? Met all these young people, all got fucking lit. Let's all jump in the fucking scene. And that shit was being. But that was the crazy story. Like what cool stories ever started? Well, I was in the Four Seasons and I got room service and then some crazy shit happened. Like that's never happened. Right? Like traveling doesn't make you interesting, but like traveling and embracing that like you're in a random ass country. Like let's say you go to like fucking Cambodia. Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? Go talk to everybody. Go try some crazy food. Maybe you'll get fucking stomach ache for 5 days. Whatever. You know? Have a like do some crazy shit because it's like, bro, like there's so much out there. And it's like if you look at life like GTA, right? Like and that's kind of the mindset I've kind of like accepted. It's like we're probably living in a simulation, we're probably in the Matrix, but that's a whole different like discussion. But it's like if I was playing GTA, I'm not finna do the same shit and like do some boring ass shit. I'm finna hop in the Lambos. I'm finna do all this crazy shit, explore all these areas, right? And like that's the mindset I think you should have while traveling. It's like first of all, who gives a fuck if you go talk to anybody, even if like people in America, especially like trying to be all pretentious, like oh I can't be an obnoxious American, like fuck you. You know, like fuck you. Like Americans are fun. Americans are loud. Americans love to talk. Americans love to do shit. That's why we're the fucking best country. You know what I'm saying?
There's a great profile
Yeah.
written about Palmer Luckey. Do you know who Palmer Luckey
Yeah.
is? Okay. So Palmer Luckey profile written by Jeremy Stern kind of goes into his like entire life, and there's a part of the article if you know, do you know much about Palmer Luckey's life?
Briefly, but you probably
Okay.
know more than me.
So Palmer Luckey was like for most of his childhood, he was trying to invent VR and
Yeah.
he was being super scrappy about things and eventually he succeeds and then he gets recruited by Meta and then he gets flamed like he gets burned because he said he apparently contributed to this campaign that was supporting Trump before supporting Trump was like cool and whatnot,
Yeah.
and the media flamed the crap out of him. And then everyone, and when he wanted to give a response back, Zuckerberg was like, "No, you're gonna stay silent." So he had to stay silent. He could never justify himself, and then he got fired. Zuckerberg fired him, and there was like he to him as someone who only ever loved people and loved like building VR, he felt like this was like a really big moment in his life because like the entire world turned on him and he did what he thought. He was like, why is this justified? This was not fair. So when they're talking about this part in the article, he said Palmer Luckey brings up this book called The Unincorporated Man. Have you heard of this book?
No.
The Unincorporated Man is this like sci-fi novel where the world since the day you're born, people take equity, people buy you. And so you have this obligation and people like have different kind of equity and you have to satisfy your shareholders essentially as a person from day one. And there's this one guy who lives in this world who I guess was like cryo or he was like frozen, he like woke up and he's the only person who nobody owns. And so he's like it's a story about how this guy is able to live life without having any obligations or having any like commitment to any shareholders, and that is how he is able to live the best life possible, uh as opposed to everyone else who has to live up to the expectations of the shareholders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The unfortunate reality is that it's hard to be that unincorporated man and also be well known. And there's been some recent events that show that, you know,
You
even
said being unknown?
no, it's hard to be that man and be known. Sorry if I said
Okay,
that wrong.
be
Like it's very hard to be famous and unincorporated. And there's been two figures that have been popular in the media recently that we all thought were unincorporated, but there's been, you know, some things that have kind of shown that they actually are incorporated. And one of them actually was kind of like being cheeky and showed like, you can only say so much until you pass away. And you can only enjoy oxygen for so long and say so much until you stop enjoying oxygen, right? So
That's
it's
a pretty
interesting.
cool quote.
It's interesting, like when you see someone like Palmer, who, at that time he wasn't nearly as influential as he is now, but he kind of got to say whatever you want, and he's gaining a little influence. He's getting a little excited. I'm fighting against this force, whatever he stood for, whatever. It wasn't popular.
For
at the time.
clarification, there was also like I wouldn't say he was vocal about it because he just made a donation and then
Yeah.
he told a reporter about why he did
Yeah.
it, but he said off the record, like he didn't want this to be
Yeah,
publicized
okay.
at all.
Even
Right.
more extreme example, and then Big Zuck can't say that, and it's like, that's been a documented time. How many, like, there's so much in this world where it's just like, I'll say his name. I mean, look at Kanye. Kanye was going on this fucking tirade, right? Agree with him, disagree with him, whatever, right? He was going on this tirade, and 2 days ago, you see that shit about the apology.
I didn't see that.
Okay, so
That's insane. He came out with an apology?
he bought an entire paper in the New York Times, and I'm obviously have been listening to Kanye for a very long time. I follow his music very closely. I've seen how he writes. A document that was obviously not written by him is like, hello, my name is Kanye West, and I would like to formally apologize to anybody that I've hurt. I take back all the things that I've said, and I am mentally ill. Thank you so much, and I'm bipolar. So now I'm trying to become better. Thanks, Kanye. And it's like, it's so funny because it was like Kanye was going so crazy, and it's almost like Kanye's a smart guy, right? It's kind of like a message. It's like, I went this crazy, but I don't want to die, so I'm gonna do this apology, and but that him doing the apology kind of shows you how extreme it is, OpenAI, like just like what Sati was talking about, OpenAI whistleblower committed suicide. Charlie Kirk, committed suicide. Or no, he didn't commit suicide. He got fucking slimed, right? All these people are getting fucking slimed because, like, whatever they're saying goes against an agenda that somebody in power is trying to have, right? So the deeper you get into it, right? Obviously, like these self-help gurus talking about, like, start a business, get a traditional wife, all this shit, whatever. Like, nobody gives a fuck about that. But once you start really getting into it, and once you start, and I'm not even really tapped in yet, because like a lot of this stuff is not even, it's really hard to find online. That's why you should have Raw Dogger on the podcast. Maybe he could drop some. Once you really get into it, it goes deep. And like, once you start talking about that stuff, like people want to get rid of you. People don't want you spreading that agenda, but that's what it is. Yeah. So that unincorporated man can only really exist in stealth. No, because like there's a lot of stealth.
Like he can't be found.
He can't be found.
Yeah.
He can't be vocal about how he got there, how like what life is like unincorporated. Because like every single person that's vocal is incorporated by something. Like even the people that we think are like even your Nick Fuentes types, like when we think they're super unfiltered, like they are paid by somebody to adhere or not talk about something specific, right? They're all following an agenda, because if they weren't, they'd get killed, to be honest.
It's a dark side of fame, right? Like, yeah. What's interesting is like how you see that appear in like Hollywood celebrities.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like you forget that these people are like manufactured almost. And so, there's two sides to it where like the celebrities start talking about politics. You have the people that are like, oh, this person is supporting this person, I'm just going to support them. And the other side is like, who do you think you are? So it's kind of like this. I guess what I'm trying to say is like, we are all our own actors where we think that we are important in this world.
Have you ever heard like somebody going up on the stage of the Grammys and be like, I thank you for this Grammy, but like literally like 50 like kids go, and obviously that's a complex situation, and I'm not even gonna like concretely take a side here, right? Because people feel very strongly about it, and I honestly don't even know that much about it. But it's like it's interesting that it seems like, especially here at Berkeley, right? 90% of the population at Berkeley, and these Hollywood actors are not that much older than us, so it's not like an age difference, right? 90% of the people here at Berkeley are like all supporting Palestine. Same age group, same kind of like origin demographics, right? Of Hollywood. Nobody's fucking talking about Gaza, right? It makes you think like, okay, there might be a force, and I'm not gonna confirm this because I don't know, but there might be a force that's not allowing this agenda to come out. Like they don't want people talking about this. They want to pretend like it's not happening. Like they don't want people acknowledging it. Again, this is not my super expertise, but we took the conversation in this direction.
There's also I mean, as of recently, if you want to talk about like local, I literally just saw a tweet today that I think it was Paul Graham that retweeted it. It was a retweet of like someone saying everyone in tech right now is obsessed with higher comp packages. Why is nobody talking about like the ICE killings, like how people are literally getting murdered in the streets for being like immigrants, And it's like that's exactly what I thought about when you're like saying all of that. It's like,
Yeah,
what's going on?
Yeah.
When is enough, or what is the underlying force here?
I had an interesting conversation with one of my professors today. So I actually failed a class last semester. I did well in the final. I did well in the midterm. Never attended a class. And apparently I didn't look at the syllabus close enough, but that was a really big deal for this class. Like 40%. Yeah, exactly. And this professor is he works at the Federal Reserve. He's very high up there. And he was basically like, listen, I wrote him this really nice email basically explaining the situation. Hey, I was working full time. I'm sorry, I should have told you in advance, all that. He's like, basically, I'm going to cut you a deal. We're going to go over the class on a Zoom call, and I'll basically pass you. Because, like, you're a nice kid. I don't want you to, like, have to retake this class, whatever. Super nice guy. We hop on the Zoom call, and, like, obviously we don't talk about the class at all. Like, we're talking about, and I'm fucking pressing him for so many questions. It's funny because it's like they're PR trained so well where it's like I can't, like you go a little too deep, a little too far. It's like
just gotta reshuffle the cards a little bit.
Yeah, it's like ChatGPT, and they have like a guardrail, and he's like, I can't talk about this.
Yeah.
And I'm like asking him, I'm like, what do you think like the number one problem we have in this that's like causing all these problems? Because the country has tons of problems, right? And he's giving me this really long answer, and I'm like, well, what would happen if we just disabled lobbying and we figured out a way to elect decision makers purely based off of meritocracy? And he was like, oh, well, the meeting's up. I have to go. But I'm not even, I think he genuinely had to go. But it's an interesting question. It's like, how much of our politics are influenced by lobbying, right? And how much stronger has lobbying got as the corporations have gotten stronger, right? Now we have corporations for fucking everything. And it's to a point so extreme in America that you can't really exist without the corporation. Your health insurance is corporation. You want to buy some shit, Amazon. You want to go to the grocery store, all the grocery stores except for some are basically huge corporations. God forbid you want to start a business and you want to sell shit. You got to bow down to Bezos, right? Or if you want to market something on social media, you got to bow down to Zuck, right? We basically are incorporated by all these platforms because it's like you can't really exist without your LinkedIn, you can't really exist without Google, Amazon, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Like, and now you can't really be free to be your own person. Like the whole basis of what this country was built on is this idea of like the American dream. And it's, it's dated and gendered language, but it's like where a man can become his own man, right? A man can start his business, provide for his family, and be free. And that was this whole idea of like, Americans could own fucking guns in case their government got like like too powerful, we could overthrow the government. Like now we have Palantir, Israel, GPT. Like if there was like a fucking revolution, like they would just get insta sniped, right? But like that was the idea back in the day. Like, you know, we were independent. The states could vote for the shit that they wanted. We had some federal rules. The dollar turned into gold. We had a fucking gun. So if the government started acting up, we could do a revolution and we could start our own fucking business. And we had like business friendly laws, right? But now it's kind of like we can't really have a revolution. You can start a business, but it's like kind of contrary to what I said. You can start a business. It's kind of hard. You know, it's hard to compete with corporations. You have to rely on the corporations. Like in my business, I have to give all this money to fucking Shopify. Like a bunch of people have to give all their money to fucking Amazon, right? So you can't really compete against that, right? The shipping, you can't, like, it's so much harder to go direct to consumer because, like, you know, Amazon, it just works out so much better. And like everybody's using Amazon, right? Or Shopify, right? And I think we're kind of seeing this tragedy of the commons where everybody wants money now, and it's like all short-sighted thinking. Like all these corporations just want to maximize money. Like I want all this fucking money, I want all this power, and it's this beautiful country that we've built, but like now we're just trying to extract all the shit from it. And not even like, I think we still have a lot of resources, but we're literally extracting and just destroying the country from the bottom up, where it's like people can't really feed their kids, and it's like people can't really own a house, and corporations kind of control everything, and corporations lobby the entire fucking country. And it's like now this whole fucking idea and like this really beautiful natural way where it was like America was like the startup country, where it was like you have fucking China who like just brute force their way to innovation, right? By like fucking like slaving their kids 20 hours a day in school, versus America where everything was chill and everything was laissez-faire and like everybody just could figure it out. And like America miraculously, by being super chill and like allowing all this shit to happen, created all this innovation, right? And like that was working so well, but then we got greedy and we lost sight of it, and then we fucking started taking everything out of it, and then like now fucking here comes China, who, you know, they fully committed to it. They fully committed to tyranny, or like, I mean, I don't want to say that and like get banned from China, but they fully committed to like a dictatorship where it's like it's a command economy where like the central power like has control over everything, and they just determine how everything goes, and that's really efficient. Because right now we're kind of in between, where it's like we're kind of giving the illusion of like everything's free, like free will, free market, politics, democracy, but it's really not. Like, and now it's like these two conflicting forces. It's like trying to start two different things at once. And what we're seeing is that that model, in my opinion, isn't as efficient as just either full democracy, full freedom, laissez-faire, or just like fully go fucking China mode, dictatorship, efficiency maxing, you know? So this is where I think like a huge problem is, and it's like the greed is kind of just destroying America, and like now what the fuck is going to happen to America, you know? You always have to have a little bit of corruption to keep things going, but now it's just getting like a little too ridiculous, you know what I'm saying? And we're realizing a lot of the shit was like was pretty big psyops, you know?
This topic really reminds me of two things in particular. One, like the gambling industry,
Yeah.
and then two, like doom scrolling, or like
Yeah.
social media platforms hacking the brain,
Yeah.
right? Like I think with doom scrolling, I think in the startup world, we glamorize a world stickiness. And I got this idea from one of my professors
Yeah.
that was literally hired to make a product sticky.
Yeah.
But she was like, "Oh, when I really thought about it, it meant like hacking the brain so that
Yes.
you stay on the platform."
Yeah.
And so on your point about like how everyone is like pulling every ounce or drip of like uh extortion is like the wrong word.
Literally
Exploiting you.
Extracting.
You see this with porn, you see this with
Yeah.
social media, you see this with gambling. Like I think the issue that we see is like the money. It's like you said, it is corruption, but the money is so good. Like there's amazing like documentary on this by CoffeeZilla about like the gambling industry. Like
Yeah.
why do all these celebrities who already have a lot of money who have in the past said that they would never take a gambling contract. They don't support gambling.
Yeah.
Why they always take the gambling contract, right? And it's because money buys souls,
Yeah.
right? So you have this terrible cycle of like people who have morals, who sell out, who tell their audience that like, hey, this is actually cool. And then you have these people who are helpless. They want someone to look up to and have like an authority that what like they imagine has a better interest in their minds, but they're not able to see past like their actual character. And so they get stuck with gambling addictions. They get
Yeah.
stuck with doom scrolling addictions. And it's like it's so hard, I feel like, if you're not like well educated, to really be able to discern between good information versus bad information, also stay away from things that are exploiting your head. And like that's why you see so many addictions, and this makes me really sad. Like
Yeah.
gambling, porn, like
I
social
wish
media.
there
It's
was
all
I wish I
bad.
had an answer for you, but
It's not even an answer. I'm just
it's
like,
like
it's
it's
painful.
it's the same
to
trend
see.
of like how, basically everybody loses in private equity except for the private equity firm, right? Like taking a business, stripping of it all the inefficiencies. Like the inefficiencies was like what made this shit human, what made this shit fire. Like you go to a grocery store, let's say like Whole Foods, right? Acquired by Amazon, right? Notice the food quality in Whole Foods goes down, and like the customer service goes down, and all this stuff. It's really hard to like be like a private equity firm and like not destroy the quality of the business, right? And then huge example is like the fucking housing, bro. Like, wait, POV BlackRock buys an entire fucking neighborhood, doesn't allow any house to be for sale, only rent, drives rental price up like crazy. Oh, who fucking wins from that? BlackRock. And literally everybody else suffers. And it's like, when will the greed and when will we fucking realize the tragedy of the fucking commons like Rome did when all the corruption went crazy and then the entire thing just collapsed? And then it's like all these people that thought they were so smart and it was like blowing the fucking balloon until it burst and then it burst and everybody just got fucked, right? And the fucking problem is that, on the same thing, we're like, the money's so good. All the most genius kids right now ain't going into policy making. They're going to Citadel. You know what I'm saying? And these are the kids that like have the potential to like save our world. Like these are like super high IQ people. They're not going to PhDs. They're not going into math. They're like, fuck, Citadel just took me out for dinner and they wined and dined me and they're finna pay me 700K first year for me to go make whoever the founder said, I forgot his name, to go gamble his money, but really with math and shit and make him richer. And they're gonna pay me 700K to do that. Fuck that. I'm gonna go do that. And it's funny because it's like then you give this kid 700K and he's like, fuck, like what was the whole point? You see like companies like Citadel and all this like have like the most unsatisfied employee base. And then you realize like the whole thing is just so absurd and it's getting way super 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 absurd where it's like at one point it's everything is just going to be like what the fuck are we doing? And this is what we call like the human comedy where it's like if you were an alien and you came and you looked at the earth and you were like what the fuck is like what the fuck? Like why is everybody doing this? Like do they not realize it? But it's like people are so short-sighted and the greed is just fucking crazy.
So let me ask you this, right? So now I'm gonna turn it back onto you and like your character. So
Yeah.
I find it interesting where you said like, oh, why don't people understand this? Do you think making money in itself is its own rat race? Because if everything converges to the reason why I'm bringing this up, okay? He said, okay, Quant Kid makes $700,000.
Yeah.
After he's done, he
Yeah.
says, what the fuck was the point of all that,
Yeah.
right? You said you're making $50,000 a month right now.
Yeah.
You only want to do host dinner parties and you want to travel.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say you make $10 million. What the hell is going to be the point of it?
You get so blinded when you're in it that a lot of people get in it and they never come out. They pursue money and it's just like that's the only thing they ever want to do ever and then they fucking die, right? And then you see that with all these unks that like had all these dreams and they're like, okay, the money will go over the dreams and then the dreams kind of faded away. and all like the excitement and the romance in their life kind of faded away. A strategy I've seen, and this is a strategy I need to do soon, but I've been procrastinating. I'm not like you. I'm not super productive like you. I think you're very productive, and you're
big assumption.
I think you are organized with your life, I'd say. I think a strategy is you take a night off. And it's crazy. It's like a lot of things like can happen in one night or a few hours that completely alter the course of your life. You take a night off, turn your phone off. You don't hang out with anybody, and you just go down to the journal and you say, okay, at this point, this amount of money, and then you kind of have to say like adjusted for inflation. So like $10,000 can get me this basket of goods. So whatever the equivalent of that is, whenever I achieve it, once I achieve that, I am making a decree to myself. I need to step back, maybe fucking do a Steve Jobs trip in India and chill out and really think critically about what I want to do in my life. Because when you're caught up in that grind, you never realize what it is. It's like the same thing as like athletes. When the athletes are just grinding and grinding and grinding, their whole life is just like being an athlete, gym, competitions, practice. And then at the end of it, they're like, oh, that was kind of silly. You know, it was fun, but it was kind of silly. But it ends, right? The race of money has no clear end. You know, a lot of people just go their whole life only racing for money. And then that's where you see these stories of these fools on their deathbed. They're like, fuck, I wish I did X, Y, and Z. So, and humans are stupid. Like humans, like our brains aren't logical in that way where it's like we remember this stuff. Like when we're interested in something, we just go and do it until someone forces us to stop, or like we have the discipline to stop ourselves, right? So I think two really important practices is writing down to give yourself credit for what you've done so far and the progress that you've made. I think that's why checklists are so useful, because you can see like I've actually done all these things today, right? And it actually motivates you to do more things. And B, like writing down, okay, at this point, that's my milestone. I'm gonna take a break and I'm gonna reflect on what I want in my life.
One of my favorite things that I love advising, like people that ask me for advice right now, like the freshmen who are like, oh, I'm building this social media page and I don't know what to do with it. You know, I'm trying to pivot to this, or, you know, I'm thinking about this business. Should I make this? I gained so much clarity over the winter break. And the way you said, like, oh, I guess the illusion that I'm like more structured in my life now. I guess I wanted to explain to you, like, I'm obsessed right now with a quote that I heard from like David Senra. And you know how a lot of his podcasts are. It's like ridiculous. His advice is ridiculously backed up by a bunch of examples of history's greatest entrepreneurs. So it's very convincing. But one of my favorite ones is a quote from Todd Graves, which is the guy who made Raising Cane's, which is, you don't live your entire life to not do the one thing that you love, right? So all of these finite games that we're playing, all to play the infinite game. Why not just start the infinite game from the very beginning? Infinite game, I guess for your sake, is to be a great event hoster, the goddamn great Gatsby, you know? In my case, I realized that my highest utility function, for people who don't know economics, it's like, what is the thing that you could just spam that keeps providing you happiness, was podcasting. Because I thought I wanted to do podcasting, didn't take it super seriously, but I really enjoyed the process of making it. Then I didn't see growth and I felt doubtful about myself. So I went to the tech world, got good at sales. And now that I'm graduating, I was like, oh man, I don't even know where the fuck do I want to go with my life. And I heard all the podcasts. It's like, you don't live your life to not do the thing that you love to do. And then that coupled with, what was the other one I was thinking about? Fuck. There's a word that I really love. I don't know if it's the one I was thinking about, but autotelic. Have you heard of this word before? Autotelic means to do something for the sake of the enjoyment you derive out of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And that idea of like doing the thing that you love, realizing that you could do it right now, was like a very freeing idea to me. It's like, holy shit, most of us are doing things so that we can only to do the thing at the end, because we have a long time on this earth. Maybe we have this opportunity window where the matrix is going to close on us and like we don't have a lot of money, but fuck, I could probably set up this microphone and still talk with people. So should I care about money? You know? And so I want to get your take on that. Like, have you ever, like, we talk about what is the end game, right? We talk about making money, the importance of it, kind of like freeing yourself. But do you ever feel scared, or do you ever consider that idea of like what
Well,
happens?
you're very lucky because you know what you want. You know what you like. Most people don't know what they like, which is unfortunate. So, if I were to advise on this point, is I would say you should never make a decision out of fear. And a lot of people do. A lot of people choose, and even if it doesn't seem like it's a decision out of fear, most of the time it is. Like, a lot of people choose their career paths out of fear. I'm worried about being broke, and this is just like, seems like a stable path. I'm going to go do this, right? And from what I've seen on my not so long time on this earth, is any decision made out of fear, whether it be for professional life, relationship decision, like friendship decision, etc., FOMO, it usually doesn't work out. I think intuition is very strong. And again, like the pseudo Bali spirituals will always say this, but like this is what Albert Einstein was saying too. Like he was talking about how like intuition is like one of the strongest forces that a human has. I think most people don't know exactly what they want, but they know what they don't want. But they see what they don't want and they're like, okay, this seems like a good idea, whatever, I'm just gonna go do this, right? I think we need to think about death more often. I'm not obviously super wise, but it's like time starts to go by a lot faster as we get older. And we've already felt this as college went by so quickly for us. And I was talking to someone trying to get his advice today. And he was like, yeah, like it felt like I was 40 just yesterday. And he's like 60 something. It's one thing is like, yeah, I'm doing what I want to do. And this is my life. But I don't think anybody's really in that state. Like, at least I haven't met someone who's like, I mean, maybe I've met like a few. But most people I meet aren't just like, I'm really into woodworking. I just woodwork my whole life, right? Even those people, I think at the end of their life, they're going to fall short. I think when people are saying like, okay, you do this and like you subscribe to this and like do what you want. If you're really passionate about drawing, do drawing. I don't see it as like a decision. Like I'm really passionate about drawing, so I'm going to draw. I see it as an ongoing mindset of like, I'm constantly living this life where I have control and I am the captain of my ship and I'm always pursuing something that's making me happy. And I know that just sounds like a bunch of words, but let me give an example. I have this friend Presley who's kind of like enlightened, and he's actually like this very interesting guy. He's really smart, and he kind of like has this cult of people that follow him, and like he's like has taken every drug on the planet, and like he's pretty wise. And he used to be like really into meditation when we were younger, and I would meditate with him. It was actually like some of the most beautiful times in my life. I remember like seeing Presley again after some time apart, and I was like, okay, how's the meditation going? He was like, no, I've completely shifted it. I'm just always meditating now. And it was like the biggest shift ever. It's like, and again, I don't know if he's being truthful, but maybe when he was really into it, maybe this was how it was. But he's like, I'm trying my hardest to just always be present and always be in this relaxed state. And you'll never meet a motherfucker like Presley. He's the most chill dude ever. Like, I've never in the past, like, 4 years ever seen this guy mad. He hasn't jerked off in like 5 years. He's super focused and calm and like somebody that like you could really go to for advice all the time. And like that mindset, that switch of it's not about doing something and being consistent, it's about I am this person. I am. And like I think, that's like this is where I think like the discipline bros fall short. Because these discipline bros are like, you know what, fuck you, I'm disciplined. I'm gonna do this every single day because I'm disciplined. But I think a better approach is just like, I just do. this because I'm doing this and this is just who I am, right? And it's like I see this like when I was working on the company, it wasn't really like discipline for me. It wasn't really like I was fucking on LinkedIn. Yo, I'm logging 18-hour days, like fuck you. I'm working hella hard. It was just like I'm just working and I haven't even like thought about the time. Like I'm just trying to get this done. Like I'm just like really invested in this goal. And like people that just like working out, they just work out. They're not like, "Oh, I need to go work out today." People that like cooking just cook. People that are social aren't thinking like all the time like, "How can I charisma max right now?" They just talk, you know? And I think kind of being someone who enjoys their life is not like you set out to go enjoy your life. And this sounds kind of stupid, but like the idea, like I'm trying to like verbalize the idea. It's just hard to verbalize it, but it's like someone who really enjoys their life, I don't think is setting out to be like using fucking chat GBT, Notion doc, being like, okay, how do I enjoy my life? Let me like fucking take notes. I think it's just like not that deep. I think somebody's just like, okay, like I'm not gonna do this shit that obviously is making me unhappy. Let me just figure this out. And like the mindset, like that mindset is just gonna keep me going every single day. And more times than not, like I said earlier, it just kind of like figures itself out. Like I feel like you have that mindset, and then it just kind of happens. Where like then you just become successful, you know. And again, I can see why people like. It's a really unsatisfying answer
No,
for a
it's
lot of
not though,
people.
because
But, like,
you put it like very beautiful. I think you did a way better job than I could have. So like my interpretation of that then for you is like your identity right now is to make money. Like that is your obsession, and that's what you're chasing. It's like the remember at the beginning of the conversation, I was telling you like the quote I also really loved. I think this is what I wanted to say instead of telling you the definition of autotelic.
yeah,
But most of us aren't chasing the feeling we're not trying to find the meaning of life. We're trying to chase the feeling of being alive,
yeah,
right? So you put it amazingly, and there's so many different things I want to touch on, like the power of identity and like kind of yes, not overthinking,
yeah,
but yes, you effortlessly just move towards whatever you think of yourself as, and like that's why I like the way you put it, because a lot of people, whenever I say something, whenever I like maybe just make a very light remark trying to convince someone of doing something, everybody loves saying, "Oh, that's so salesy of you."
yeah,
That's like you did this, sales that. It's like I'm not even thinking. I'm just asking for this. I'm
yeah,
asking for that. I'm talking like a normal human being, like I would, like I'm talking with you on this podcast. It's like I don't actively think about all like the sales things I do. And like, sure, maybe it's an identity that I put on myself that I'm like great at sales, but like that, I wasn't always that person. I was still really good at asking questions, you know?
yeah,
And it's like, I think there's this trend right now. You probably see a lot of people going viral for saying, be delusional, be crazy, you know?
yeah,
It's because there's so much information online that it's easy to overthink your identity, right? You want to overthink the steps like, okay, maybe this identity is not for me. I'm not interested in this enough to be this person. I'm not interested enough to be this person. You're kind of stuck in this middle. And I say this because I think that is the story of my life for quite a bit, you know? Like I knew I wanted to be in business ever since I was like a sophomore in high school. And yet I haven't actively worked on anything. And it's like, why is that? It's because like I've been stuck between these identities. Like, okay, I want to start a business, but I don't want it to be this business. I don't want to make my money. I want to make money, but I also want to be fulfilled. Like it's all these different components that like you kind of get stuck between. And the fact that you can just identify with one thing, I think, is what we're missing as people who want to accomplish, for the people who want to accomplish a lot of things, but for some reason can't get themselves to do it. It's like you said, I made a reel about this, about like working out. That's a great analogy,
yeah,
right? I naturally just go to the gym because I need it for my mental health, you know?
yeah,
But what I hated a lot was like the people who track everything. You
yeah,
need that validation for yourself to say like I'm moving. Again, infinite games versus finite games. You never win in this, so why would you track it? Do you track the number of days you stayed married with someone?
yeah,
No, the whole point is to stay with them for the entirety of
yeah,
life. Same way you shouldn't track your gyms because you're only setting yourself up almost with like the training wheels of gratification and like always constantly like loving yourself instead of what you can actually do, which is loving yourself through proving and through the actions you take and building evidence for yourself that you are the person you are.
The concept of days, of months, of hours, of age is not, it's all artificial. It's not in our DNA to like think about days or hours. Like age is a great example. Like, because like everybody ages differently, right? In nature. But we will be like, we'll label somebody as like 18 or 25, right? But sometimes 18-year-olds have gray hair, and sometimes 25-year-olds, 22-year-olds like Satya look like they're 17, you know? What I've noticed is there's a correlation between focusing on things that are very unhuman, not in our biology. Kind of what you're saying when it's like, if you're a human and you're tracking things like in time and months and days and, you know, you're really focused on all this stuff, like maybe that's not going to make you that happy because like we're not fucking biologically meant to like think about our like how many days we've gone to the gym or like what a 6-month anniversary is with our girl. Like that's not
That's such
in
a
our
stupid
DNA.
trend,
Like
by
it's
the
like
way.
not in our DNA, you know? So that's an interesting point that you bring up. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like creating these small wins for yourself instead of like winning all the time.
Yeah.
It's like a very abstract way I'm like thinking about it.
Again, I'm not a genius psychologist. There's like that book Atomic Habits
Yes.
where it's like they talk about like the small wins and how effective that is, and that works really well for some people. And it doesn't work that well for other people. Again, it's hard, and I have a consistency to do it. It's hard to like make objective statements about like human nature and what humans want because realistically everybody's very different. There's so many gems about what makes people happy and just like a life advice in general and like evolutionary psychology. And a lot of them, when you look at evolutionary psychology and you make a statement about it, like a lot of people actually get upset because like society has drifted so far from what evolutionary psychology was, right? But we could actually talk about evolutionary psychology
Is this gonna go back to women?
for hours. I mean, there's parts of it that I honestly don't think my takes on women are that crazy. I think people have much crazier takes. I think I'm
I
actually
don't think it's not.
I think I'm actually pretty fair, and like I think if women like heard what I had to say without just looking at the headline, I think a lot of them would agree. That what were the craziest statements I said? Girls like spontaneity, right? I think I think that's not that's big of a conspiracy, you know. Maybe my conspiracies are bigger, but if we look at evolutionary psychology, there's a lot of benefits in fasting, and there's like if you do like I forgot the word apography. I forget, it's like some complicated word, but basically like if you can fast for 36 hours, basically you kind of refresh all your cells. And there's countless health benefits of that. But fasting just every day, intermittent fasting, is just constantly like micro health benefits. And that's what people are always talking about, like fasting is like really good
Wait,
for you.
constantly fasting though? Wouldn't that just
Like
mean you're-
intermittent fasting where it's like you wake up, you don't eat for the first 6 hours. So let's say you wake up at 6 a.m., you don't eat till 12. Then you have a lunch at 12, then you have dinner, right? That's like intermittent fasting, right? And there's so many studies on like what the health benefits of that is. But what's most important is like how you break your fast. Right now, I'm a total bean, and like I'm only in Berkeley for a couple days. I'm going back down to LA, so we didn't really go grocery shopping. So we basically got steaks, berries, and chocolate, dark chocolate. Like I just broke my fast with fucking berries, dark chocolate, and a banana, which is tons of sugar. And you're never supposed to break your fast with sugar, because like if you break your fast with sugar, you just like KO. And I remember over the summer, I broke my fast with like a fucking Air One Haley Bieber, like you know what I'm talking about, and it was a 36-hour fast, and I had never like got more tired. I was staying at my friend's house, and I just like fell asleep on his couch for like 7 fucking hours. It was crazy.
I want to ask you about your health because
Yeah.
it seems like it's an important concern in life, and it seems to be a topic that you not only research heavily, but it seems to be a part of your identity as well.
Yeah.
I remember when we were talking back at Sandbox, you were really passionate about telling me about reverse osmosis,
Yeah.
the reverse osmosis water machine.
Yeah.
Such a tongue tire, but I love telling people about the
The reverse osmosis. You
the
can just say
reverse
RO.
osmosis. Yeah, RO. I'd like telling people about the RO.
You have one?
After you told me about it, I don't have one. No, because from my very basic surface level research, it's like it strips the actual like proper minerals out of it.
Yeah, but that assumes we live in Switzerland and we're having like fucking beautiful mineral water. But the reality is
You don't
in
think San
Berkeley,
Francisco tap water
California,
is
we
great?
have estrogen, microplastics, heavy metal, fluoride, chlorine all in our water. So yeah, maybe like some mineral is somewhere somehow actually helpful, but we can get the same minerals from juices or vitamins. But then we're ingesting all this bullshit. And it's like, oh, well, are we really finna trust the government and the government water? Like, no, I'm not about to trust that
Dude,
shit.
I just
Like,
learned soy milk has estrogen in it. the
yeah,
other
like,
day.
yeah, like, there's a strong correlation between like a lot of the shit the government recommends is like healthy, and like remember how they just changed the food pyramid?
Is this the meme where like they flip it upside down?
Yeah,
Have you
they
seen the
literally,
Family
yeah,
Guy
they
one?
literally, but they
take the
actually
fa-
literally
they
did it,
take
and
the
it was
food
true.
pyramid,
It's like,
it's upside down.
bro, when we were kids, we were psyoped into like cereal is really good for you. You know, and that shit is not good for you. That shit is straight fucking sugar and wheat. Like, there's literally, where is the power in wheat? There's no power in wheat, you know? Like, think about you're a fucking caveman. What are you gonna eat? Fucking wheat? Or are you gonna eat a fucking cow that has 8 fucking stomachs and turns the sun and grass into like beautiful red steak that's fatty and has like a million health benefits, you know? Like, think about that. Like, which one do you think is gonna give you more fucking power? And then you look at like, there's correlations between like countries that eat more meat and like height and strength and like what's what country has the highest IQ? Japan. They also have the highest like consumption of fatty salmon, raw fatty salmon, which has the highest omega-3. And in omega-3 there's actually an interesting theory on evolution. You know how, if you're did I tell you about this?
No, tell me about it.
The theory of the swimming apes, where we were apes, and apes always walked on all fours, right? Unless they were in water, then they walked on 2 feet. Like, they're in water, they're on 2 feet now. Like, they're not all the way submerged,
Okay.
but they're in semi-shallow water.
Oh, because they have to stand up so they don't drown.
Exactly. So this theory is basically like, in the area where we believe that humans became human, like from ape to human, was this area, I believe in Africa, right? Coastal area, where there was a lot of fish with omega-3. There's a compound in omega-3, I think it's called, begins with a D, maybe it's DHT, I forgot. But DHT is this compound that promotes far more than anything brain health and brain growth, right? That's why people take omega-3, right? It's brain health, right? That's why people say eat salmon all the time. Omega-3, brain health, right? It's really good for you, among other things that it's good for. And the theory here is that these were these apes that were walking on 2 fours or 2 feet in this water, grabbing salmons or whatever fish it was, whatever it had omega-3, eating it, and their brain was growing. And they were walking on, like, it's like, we still don't really know the reason why we walk on 2 feet, but, and a lot of scientists don't accept this theory, but it's interesting where it's like, this potentially could be true, or it could potentially like be one of many things of what caused humans to evolve into humans. And we're eating all this fucking like really fire salmon, and you're like, okay, well, look at Japan, and Japan has the highest IQ because they're eating so much raw fucking sushi, that's raw salmon, raw, because you lose a lot of the omega-3 when you cook a salmon, right? You get the most raw salmon, like you get way more, right? So I look at the history and I'm like, damn, like a lot of, I feel like, and you feel it empirically, like when you eat like shit, you feel fucking terrible and you feel retarded. Like, that's how I feel right now. Because like, I'm like, fuck, I'm like starved, bro. And I ate all this shit. Like, fruit and dark chocolate is good, but it's like not dinner, you know? So I feel like I'm running on nothing. So it's like, I feel my brain turning off because it's like, My brain's like, what the fuck do you just feed me? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think diet is really important. It's overlooked. I think the whole thing that red meat is bad for you is obviously a psyop. Red meat is not bad for you. I've eaten red meat every single day for 3 years. I just got my cholesterol checked. I have incredible cholesterol. I don't even like really like do cardio or anything, right? I honestly should be more active, but I feel super healthy. My brain feels good. I feel like my body looks decent. And most of it I would attribute to just like I just eat mostly good food, you know?
What do you think kills your brain completely? Like on
Alcohol.
with diet, whether
Alcohol
it's
by
diet
far is the
habits, something.
worst. I think alcohol by far more than, and it's like fucked because alcohol is so much fun, but it's like it's like, dude, I drank the other day and I felt like a retard for 2 days straight, bro. Like I was super tired and I couldn't piece together a thought, and I realized like when I go a few weeks no alcohol, no jerk, like good diet, I'm feeling unstoppable. I'm waking up raging bone every morning, ready to fucking get out of bed and conquer the world. And like I have all this idea and all this energy, and I feel like that's been a big part of my identity is like having all this energy and like being like like let's fucking go. Like this is an idea, this is an idea. Like hopping on a call, like being hella charismatic and like talking like my ass off just because like fucking all this energy, you know.
Energy maxing. I
Yeah,
think this could be a really cool trend.
yeah, energy maxing. Yeah, and I sleep a lot too. I try to sleep like 9 hours a night. Up in this thing, yeah.
This past week, I was in New York with my buddy Viraj.
Yeah.
Do you know Viraj? Oh, yeah, right. We talked about this. We were doing interviews, and I got to get the perspective of a few different founders. One is like late in his 30s, another is late in his 40s,
Yeah.
both incredibly successful. And I find it interesting seeing a lot more of these older entrepreneurs caring a lot about their health. It's really easy to connect with them,
Yeah.
right? But there was two conflicting pieces that I thought was pretty interesting. One guy was like, you need to abuse your body in your 20s because you can work like a fucking machine. You don't ever feel the effects until you're 30. That's when you have to start health maxing and taking care of your body. And then there's another guy who's like, I wish I had started taking care of my body sooner because I think that the amount of energy and the clarity I feel now when I do these health benefits, I wish I had when I was younger.
Yeah.
Curious to hear your take. Do you think you should trash your body, work like a fucking machine in your 20s
Yeah.
because you'll just recover? Or do you think it's important that we
So
max it out to the best of our
I
ability?
think all these founders that talk about, oh, like when I was in the lab, I slept 2 hours a day. And I fucking drank every fucking 400 Red Bulls a day. And I needed to do that, or else I would have failed. I think that's kind of bullshit. I think, like, especially now, everything is way, like, with AI, like, everything's way more efficient. Like, you don't need to, like, you're a fucking retard if you're not sleeping 9 hours a night. Like, that's, like, by far the most detrimental thing for your health. And the ROI is just retarded. Because, like, if you go one night and you sleep, like, 2 hours, the next day you're going to be a zombie.
I keep hearing you say 9 hours. Why do you say 9 hours instead of 8?
I mean, I think some people 8 hours is better. For me, I just like 9 hours.
Okay.
I mean, everybody's different. That's also a genetic thing, how
there's
much you
always
need to
that.
sleep. But yeah, 8 hours, 9 hours, interchangeably for just a full night's sleep. You look at like Gunnar Bryan Johnson. What's the number one thing that he says that's like most important for health is sleep? Like every Matrix, like kind of like publication kind of agrees on that too. All the scientists kind of agree on it. That's why bedding and sleeping is such a huge industry, and empirically we feel it. Like if we sleep like shit one day, the next day we feel like we're half dead. You know, it's like the worst feeling ever. No matter what, no matter what the fuck they tell you about grinding and stuff, like you should always get sleep, because if you don't sleep, then you're gonna not be able to like do anything. So like maybe like you're gonna get a little bit more work done, but even that work that you get done sleep deprived is not gonna be great work. And the next day you're just cooked, right? That being said, so I think, the winner tells history, right? And the winner is always going to tell you, I fucking grinded my ass off every single day. But like if the cameras were really there, like we'll see, like he worked hard, but like most people, I feel like it wasn't super crazy. Like they were still sleeping every night, but they just want to sound cool, so they were talking about working super hard. With that being said, I'm a big ROI guy. right? And by ROI guy, I mean like getting 80% of the benefits for like 20% of the effort, right? And with health, that's actually really easy. You can get like 90% of health benefits by just not eating like retarded food, like not eating super processed ultra food. Like if you just eat like vegetables, fruit, and steak, and you sleep 9 hours, and you work out like 3 times a week, and you take vitamins, like, and you take showers, like you kind of got and you wear sunscreen, whatever. You kind of got most of the health benefits. Like everything beyond that, like the cold plunges, the saunas, all this stuff. For me, at least, like it doesn't make that big of a difference. So I think you should always try to be. Again, I'm not a health influencer. I'm like a health like time maximizer. I feel really healthy. I don't think I'm gonna age very quickly. And I think like it's like this baseline of just like generally eating healthy is like really fire. Sleeping really well is really fire, and like working out. Like I don't even think I think a lot of people overdo working out. Like I think working out like a few times a week. That's like that's like for the effort. That's like the max amount you get out. And I think your time is better spent like doing other shit than always worrying about health. And I think like it's kind of like this weird like addiction where it's like people that are super fucking rich and they have nothing else to do. They're like health maxing, health maxing. I need to do all this shit, and it's like, is it really that deep? Like I think your mindset and like being young and like low key acting a little retarded and like having fun, like that. If you establish a baseline, like that is what's gonna keep you like longevity. Like my grandma, for example, doesn't really work out. Never really worked out. Like never really ate healthy. She's 91 right now. She's still going strong, but it's all because her body is getting pretty crippled, but her mind is so strong. And it's because like she's just having fun. Like she's at her nursing home, she's talking to everybody, cracking jokes, like not really giving a fuck, you know? And I feel like that's what's keeping my grandma going. And people underestimate like how damaging like being like having a boring life is. Like having a boring life where you're doing the same shit every day, you're super regimented, time just goes by super quickly that your body's just like, ah, fuck it. And I'm not a doctor, but this is just like this is just bro science. This is what I think happens. Is like your body's just like, oh fuck it, we're just doing the same shit every day. I'm old. You know, like your brain influences your health so much. Like yeah, the mind influences the body, and people don't think about that enough. Where it's like if you are always thinking negative thoughts, then you're just gonna start like beating around, like laying down all day, doom scrolling, and that's like, gonna be this whole like effect of like all this like negative stuff. Like if you wake up energy like fuck it, like fuck you, like I'm about to do all this stuff, like you always see those people like they're in good health, they always have a bunch of energy, they're always running around, and like assuming they don't die from something like crazy out of their control, like can't like random cancers or stuff, like they live a pretty good long life. And even if they live a shorter life, they lived more of a life in a shorter life, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it reminds me of that one study. I don't remember if there was a good story behind it,
Yeah.
but it was essentially like good stress versus bad stress. You know, the people who actually interpreted this as like a bad moment or like a stressful situation versus the people who were just like, ah, life,
Fuck it.
haha.
Yeah.
And it's like, of course, the people who thought like, ah, life, you know,
Yeah.
good stress, good stress. Stress with the meaning, yeah, laughter is a good medicine. Like those people always live longer, you know. So yeah, I think the bro science lines up there.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one takeaway, at least right now, we have the freedom to do whatever we want. Making decisions out of fear where your instinct knows, your intuition knows that you're not doing what you actually want should be avoided at all costs. When you stop doing shit that you don't want, you will feel like divine energy come upon you that energizes you so much to go do all the shit that you actually want to do. And I want to challenge people to like logically plan this out for themselves. Like this is my cost benefit analysis of like saying fuck it to the corporate, saying fuck it to all this shit, and like trying to do something that I actually think I want to do. Cost benefit, like worst case scenario, moving in with my parents, best case scenario, X, Y, and Z, right? And I think, all these people that say they subscribe to logic, if they really plan this out, they'll be like, fuck, the logic actually adds up. And it was actually just the emotions. It was actually just the fear holding me back. So, to be concise, as of 2026, and I'll say this confidently will be the case for like the next 4 years, educated Americans have the freedom to basically do whatever they want. And there isn't really an excuse to not be able to do that now that there's freedom of information. So, I would strongly advise everybody to at least give 2 years of effort to trying to do something that they want to do. And if they fail, then fuck it, go in the matrix, whatever, But I think most people will be surprised. Like, if you try 2 years, focus, energy on it, you'll probably make it out, And if you just stop comparing yourself to others for a second, your mindset might get a lot better, because if you're like always like, fuck, I need the Rolex, fuck, I need the Urus, it's like silence all that stuff and you just focus on 2 things and you stop thinking about the fear. I think a lot of people will be surprised what they're able to do.
That's a banger note to end on.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Dylan. That was a great pod.
I enjoyed it.
I think I really admire the fact how you move through life, and I'm glad you were able to share your journey with me. I got to learn a lot of things about you too, also, having known you for a year. But this is so fun,
Yeah.
and this is going to be it. I mean, 3-hour conversations, getting to know people.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad you were my first guest. I can't wait to see other stories and see how many more people out there that are doing the things that they
Yeah,
love.
hopefully. That's it.
If you made it this far into the episode, I wanted to personally thank you for your support. It means the world to me that you took a few hours out of your day and found value in the conversations that I feel lucky enough to have. This show is possible because of your continued support, and I wanted to offer you a deal. If you subscribe to this channel, I will spend every waking moment I have to deliver the highest quality guests for you to learn from and connect with offline. Is that a deal? All right, I'll see you in the next one.